All right. We are live on 2 different platforms, which is great. All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to wait till some more people get in here and let's see how we do this evening. We are talking about sinners. It is Sinners Sunday. Okay. So I'm going to see if we get some folks in here right now. Let me go and share this on some other pages. So that way they are aware we are live now. Welcome. Come on. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Denise. Hey, listen. Denise, I should have sent you. Denise, is your number still the same? Because, honey, you could have hopped up on this panel this evening, too. You really could have. Let me share this on my Facebook page, y'all, and we will be ready to go. Let me share it. Oh, wait. Is it already on my page? As long as it's already on my page, then we good. And it is. Okay. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. I know y'all on Facebook. Some of y'all on Facebook. We're going to see if we can get some people on YouTube. Let me see. Now, I got some people. Okay, hold on. I got some people in my panel already. They are behind the scenes. I'm giving everybody just a minute to get over here. Go ahead. Yeah, Denise, go ahead and inbox me. Welcome, everybody. I hope y'all saw Sinners. I really hope. I done saw it twice. I have seen it twice. I had to watch it again yesterday to get myself prepared because one watch is not enough. Okay, I don't know about y'all, but one watch of that, I'm going to watch it 55 more times. So I hope all of y'all saw Sinners because otherwise everything here tonight will be a spoiler if you have not, because we're going to get into it, okay? We are going to get into it. So come on, we got a few people in. I do have some people in the back on the panel. Some more people might hop on the panel, which is perfectly okay too. Let me get my link so I can have it ready to go in case some folks want to get on up here. Let me see. Okay. Now, on any note, how are y'all doing? How is everybody doing? Come on in. Come on in. Let me get that shared. All right. So first, how many times, for everybody in the chat, how many times have y'all seen Sinners? I've seen it twice. My people in the background haven't been put up yet, but I'm about to bring them up in a minute. I've seen it twice. How many times have y'all seen it so far? Let me know in the chat. Whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, let me know. Okay, let me get that up right here. Okay. All right. So listen, just once so far. Okay, that's okay. Listen, you're going to have to see it again because trust me when I tell you, even me, a person that really pays attention to things in a film when I'm into the movie, when I saw it a second time, it was things that I did not pay attention to the first time. E-Mac, you coming on the panel? Because not you in the comments. I sent the link for you to get up here. Anyway, if y'all are here, we going to go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to bring 2 people up right now, and then there are maybe 2 to 3, maybe 4 more people that might join the panel. So yeah, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about some things. I want y'all to be involved in the comments. Y'all can ask questions. Y'all can dissent from what we're saying because everybody's not going to agree. I done already got into it with some people about the different characters. So we're going to do tonight like this. We are going to ask some opening questions once I get the panel started, and then we're going to go through themes and character analysis. Every character in this movie played a pivotal part, and literally these characters, you can love and hate them. I know people who hate certain characters, but then I'm like, but there's something to love about that character too. Ryan Coogler did his big one. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. I don't think I've seen a movie this amazing in a very long time. Okay. This has now become one of my top 3 movies ever, if not my number 1, just because of everything in it, the history, the themes, the music. We're going to get into it. Okay. So let me bring up some folks. So these are my girls. Okay. Red, E-Mac, Jay, these my girls. They've been with me. And listen, Jay was the one. She saw it first out of all of us. And she saw it probably twice before we went to see it. Now, y'all gonna have to take yourself off mute because I can't. So I'm gonna let y'all introduce yourself. You gotta click to come off mute. There you go, Jay. Oh, wait, why can't we still hear you? No, wait, now we can. Wait. Nope, we can't hear you, Jay.
That never.
E-Mac, I can hear you.
Okay, good, good. Hey,
Okay.
everybody.
Introduce yourself, ma'am.
Well, I'm a Taurus. I like long walks on the beach. No.
Oh, 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 goodness. All right, so we got E-Mac, and then we have my girl Red, who is a film. Red is a film like breakdown connoisseur. She loved breaking down a movie. Okay, she done made me dislike movies that I done loved my whole life with her breakdowns. Okay,
Because I love you enough to tell you the truth.
okay,
I'm Jasmine Monique, the Red Lipstick Vixen. I'm also on YouTube under that same name and moniker. I'm very, very excited about tonight. I too have seen Sinners twice. Ash the F&T is amazing. You know her for all of the many intellectual insights that she brings to you as a therapist. But I met her, and tonight I will work with her on pop culture and film. That's our origin personally. So it's always exciting to go back to nerding and having a little fun with her and then tackling serious issues. So
yes,
thank y'all for coming. I'm hyped.
yes, indeed. Me and Red met because I did a breakdown of Bridgerton, and I'm gonna do one of those again too, soon as that next season start. Because if you don't watch Bridgerton, I don't know what you are doing with your life. But anyway, like I told y'all when I posted about this live, if you have not seen Sinners, I also don't know what you are doing with your life. So we gonna get into it. All right,
Because
Jay, we
what's
got
taking you so long? You know what I'm saying? What's taking you so long to go to the movies and get to sit through that 2 hour and
or get
15 minutes of gloriness? Okay.
get your fire stick. We don't promote, anything like that. But I know some of y'all got fire sticks. Granted, we want you to support Ryan. We want you to go pay for a ticket, but we understand if you got to use your fire stick, that's okay. All right. I just need y'all to see this film. Now I got my snacks. All right. So listen, as we go through this, if y'all have certain questions in the chat, I'm gonna make sure to bring them up on the screen. Okay. So we gonna go ahead and get started. I hope y'all are excited. I hope y'all love the movie. And if you didn't love the movie, look, it wasn't for you. That's all I'm gonna say. If you didn't love this film, I'm inclined to say it wasn't for you versus, oh, you probably got a valid critique. No, you don't. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just be biased. No, you don't. That's it. That's all. All right. Now, Jay, I want to make sure your audio is good. So let me see if we can hear you now. Nope, still can't. Not all of y'all got y'all videos off. Y'all knew about this. Now, Red had a reason to not be camera ready right away. Not they still. I gotta put this
I'm
up. Oh,
cooking right now, so I can't have my camera on as I'm cooking.
Beauty is her name. That's my Shea Butter Bay, I think. She said they still sell DVDs. I'll buy the damn DVD at this point. Listen, look, as soon as Sinners hit streaming services, I'm getting it. Ooh, my other girl here. Hold on. Come on over, Beauty, and say hey, honey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Awesome.
All
Awesome.
right, welcome. You not late at all. We are just about to get into it, okay?
Oh, awesome.
Okay. So listen, like I was telling Red before I went live tonight, I want tonight to pretty much go like this. We are going to do themes of this film and we are going to do character analysis of the characters, okay? So basically this is your thoughts and opinions on it. We want that from y'all in the chat too. And I'm also ask some beginner questions just to get us started. So y'all ready? Okay. Jay should be back. I think she's trying to figure out her audio. So if she come back, I'll let her in. All right. So first up, who is your favorite of the twins? We all know Michael B. Jordan played twins Elijah Smoke Moore and Elias Stack Moore. Who is your favorite twin? Who's your favorite?
Smoke is I gotta go with Smoke. I love a responsible man. He even though they are engaged in, like, what we would consider criminal life, you can tell that he's very much the protector of his family, anybody who he considers family. So whether it's his brother or Annie or Sammie, he is, very much in that protector mode. And I got to tell you, I like that.
Okay. All right. So we got a Smoke in the comment section too. So we got two for Smoke so far. Red.
Make that 3 for smoke.
3 for smoke. 3 for smoke. Red. Who's your? I'm gonna give you mine after red.
Um, First of all, we're not even gonna start this thing out with lies. I'm letting Michael B. Jordan run a train on me every day of the week.
Lord
So
red.
we're not gonna start off with telling lies, acting like we got a favorite. But if my back up against the wall and I absolutely got to choose, um, hmm, it's tough for me, y'all. Hold on. Hold on. So, um, to me, my opinion is Smoke is more relevant to the story. Stack is more relevant to my entertainment.
Okay. Okay.
So from character analysis, answer Smoke. From my trifling ass fantasies, Stack.
You know, that makes all the sense in the world. And you know what? You gave a very Libra answer, and so am I. I'm gonna give a very Libra answer because I'm balanced like that. There is a part of me that will always choose smoke because I know he is responsible. But let's be clear, as responsible as Smoke is, I need people to realize that Smoke is the one that's unhinged. Smoke is more unhinged than Stack. I don't know why everybody keeps saying that Stack is no, honey, Smoke is unhinged. So part of me would choose Smoke. Then there's a part of me that would absolutely choose Stack. If my back is against the wall and I got to pick which one at this particular point in my life, I'm going with Smoke. But baby, at any other time in my life, the answer would have been Stack. At any other point in my life. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I'm not even mad at you because probably have to say the same thing. But see, I'm a Capricorn, so I relish in stability.
I was going to say, you got to be
Stability
grounded, sis.
with
That's
a
why.
little bit of unhinged underneath. That's why I like. That's why I
That's
like
why
them.
you pick
I need you
Smoke.
to be
That
able to
makes
be
sense.
bothered when it's time. You know what I'm saying?
Emacs the Taurus. That's why she picked Smoke. She needs to be
Absolutely.
grounded. She got to
Absolutely. I
be
need that
grounded.
protector. I need that
Yeah.
and I love the way he took time out. You know what I'm saying? Even when he went to the store and he had the little girl watch his truck, he offered her 10 cents and then she accepted it gladly. But he's like, no, 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 no. That's not how we do things. When we talking money,
Mm-hmm.
you need to know how to negotiate. Come on and make it a learning lesson. Yes, come on.
Smoke's a teacher.
Okay,
Smoke's
so
a teacher
this
at
is
heart.
why I say, EMAC, Smoke is more relevant to the story.
The storyline. Mhm.
I would dare so even branch out to say that Smoke is really the only person there, and Stack could have been symbolically an alter ego, or his dark side, or his
Oh,
weaker versions of himself, or
oh,
the parts of himself he loves, but the parts of himself he always got to keep in check.
which is quintessential for twins. If y'all know any twins in real life, any identical twins, they are often they of course they have a lot in common, they have a special connection, but one is the flip of the other in some ways. So, and we're gonna get into why twins to me were important, why it had to be twins, because I think I read somewhere that it was supposed to be they were just brothers and it was gonna be two different characters, but then it was a relevance to it being twins. And I don't think people realize that.
Yes. If I can talk about that real fast, it was supposed to be our good buddy Jonathan Majors.
That's what I saw.
Because a lot of Lovecraft Country people were there. We'll get there. But it was supposed to be Jonathan Majors. Well, we know he went on ahead and fucked his life up. So Michael B. Jordan was already cast. The great actor that he is, he already knew most of the lines because he's one of those actors that learns everybody's lines, things like that. And they was
Mhm.
like, "Do you think you could do this?" And I don't know if this official, but down the grapevine, the reason why it was turned into twins is because in Orisha-based religions, twins have a connection to Oracle, Oshun,
Yep.
Igosi, different things. So they took more history and bloodline magic and
Yeah.
ancestral veneration culture, and they applied it to this by using the twins. I also believe the name change was relevant when you get into Elijah and Elias.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Pause. We gonna go there. We gonna go there. Okay. So basically, everybody picked which twin based on certain factors. Basically. Oh wait, I got some people in the back. I didn't even know was in the back. Let me bring them up. Okay. Okay. I'm pulled them up. All right. Now, for the purposes of being able to hear everybody, if you're not talking, go on mute. But let me check your audio, Jay. Can I hear you now?
I hope so because
Yes.
I did a whole lot
Yes.
to make
I
sure
can
it
hear you
happened.
now, Jay.
Okay.
Yes. Denise, girl, can I hear you now?
I got you. I can hear you.
So before we move to the next one, what twin y'all picking? Smoke or Stack?
Smoke,
Who's the one you going
smoke
with?
all
Who?
day.
Smoke all day.
Smoke all
Jay,
day.
which twin you picking?
Uh, you know, I said I was picking smoke from the beginning.
I remember. I remember. So Smoke getting everybody. Y'all ain't showing Stack no kind of love. Let me tell you, Stack with the grills might make me change my whole mind.
What
Stack,
you mean? I show stack the love, baby.
we did. We Libras. We
It's
show them both. So,
it's. I think it's just smoke's personality for me because I love Stack, but um he was a little bit too impulsive, and I like that controlled. What you want me to say? It, everything. Tell me everything. Like tell
we
me
gonna get
everything.
into how unhinged Smoke really was, because we're not about to sit up here and lie like Smoke wasn't about the smoke.
RT,
I understood the
RT,
unhingedness of it, and that was why I liked it.
PTSD. Yep,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
PTSD.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about. Let me ask y'all one other question, because I need to see if it's a general consensus with this. I know the whole movie was great. I know the entire film was phenomenal. What's the best scene? What's your favorite scene of the entire movie?
Hands down, it's that music scene in the juke joint where preacher boy is playing and all the ancestral spirits and the past and the future come together. That's the scene.
That's the scene for
That
me.
is the scene. I literally teared up in the theater in that scene. Like,
That wasn't
Indeed.
it for me.
That wasn't a scene for you. Okay, so we got it. I
Uh,
wanted somebody to have a different scene.
oh, I'll wait. Um, the scene, may I?
Yes.
So the scene that got me teared up was when Delta Slim, after he told them, no, you can't have him, and he did what he did to ward them off from getting to Sammie. That's the scene that took me out. And
Okay.
because for me, that was the acknowledgement of him saying, I messed up my life because it appears to me that Delta Slim was also a chosen one at one point. But like they say, when the devil already got you, he ain't got to come looking for you. Right. So he's saying, I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice myself to make sure that this boy can move on. And so that's the scene that got me misty. And I don't think that a lot of people focused enough on Delroy Lindo's character,
Oh
um,
no, honey.
how much pain he was in order to do something like that, saying basically I've lived, because he hints to that earlier in the movie. And so that was the scene that really, like, that's when I got misty eyed, which the whole movie was phenomenal, obviously, but like, that was the
Del-
scene that I was just like, oh my God, you
Delta
know.
Slim said a whole bunch of things that I want to focus on when we get a little deeper. Delta Slim's lines, people did not. Delroy is, I need people to give that man his flowers already, because any scene he touch, then when you hear certain background information, like I'm gonna pop up this comment before I let everybody else go. C Young said in the car, telling the
Yes.
his pain. That
Yeah.
was my scene with Delta Slim.
Yeah.
Whew,
yeah, that
Woo,
was
think
my
about
that
second.
scene
That's
that.
the
almost didn't make
second.
it. That scene
Yeah.
Scene
almost got
after
cut,
that.
and it was improv.
Yep.
Yes,
But no,
I heard that
Really?
when he
if
started.
we're gonna talk, if we're
Go
gonna
ahead,
mention
Craig.
Delta Slim in the car real quick, shout out to Ryan Coogler and the creative mindset to give us the story through sound instead of flashback.
Right.
That was very unique. A lot of historical pieces always film flashbacks versus he decided to keep us locked on Delta Slim in the situation of the trauma and the energy infused with the rocking and the humming and the soul sound he's making in telling the story in hearing the sound. And I want people to understand the artistry of using sound in this
Yes.
movie. I don't think any other movie has ever used sound the way this movie did. Not just music, but sound, period.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm going too far because I'm too excited. Let me stick with what's our favorite scene. For the sake of being different, I'm gonna give my second favorite scene
Okay.
since we all love the
Yes.
ancestral
I know
scene.
what
Now
mine
we gonna
Um,
break
was.
that. We gonna break that
but
scene down. But go ahead,
but I
Red.
will say about the ancestral scene that I started shaking like a shiver, and I started crying. And I said, I think what he's describing. Oh, I get emotional again. I think what he's describing the character's gift does singing blues, that may be in fact what is happening every time we watch a Michael Coogler film.
Mm.
And then I asked myself, is it my voice and my ability to speak that does that for me?
Yes.
And could we all, as people, figure out what our ancestral gift is so that when we need to communicate with the past, the present, the future, and God, we can? So that's, and y'all know I practice Palo Mayomba and Gambisa, and that is what we believe, and I've never seen it on film.
On film.
They've always taken my belief system and treated it with the serpent and the rainbow and the skeleton key.
Right.
They never did it like this.
Also, excellent
I'm
movies.
Yes, but I want to tell y'all as an actual practitioner, and I would challenge other people who actually practice with me to dare say that this movie did not capture what we have been trying to say we believe.
Absolutely.
That
I'm a
is not.
practitioner as well, and it
Yes,
absolutely,
yes, ma'am. Tell
it
me this movie ain't
absolutely.
the first time somebody artistically captured what we've been saying we believe. It
Yep.
ain't just root work, go for dust, and horror bullshit. It's that we are believing we are our own past, present, and futures in
Yep.
our bloodlines. And if we tap into that, we can heal and be more powerful as a people. So I
Absolutely.
want to hug Coogler if I ever meet him, because I feel like he took what's in his mind and probably what happens to him as a creative, and he
Mhm.
put it in perspective using the character to relay it. So, but we're gonna pause because I know we all got so much more to say about that scene.
Also,
So,
though,
mhm,
I'm sorry. I just want to say also, like, Ryan has been very explicit, like if you've caught any of the interviews, that what I appreciate about Ryan is he is an intentional filmmaker.
Yes, he
Nothing
is.
is
mhm, mhm,
happenstance, nothing is by accident. And he studies. He doesn't just put things in his movies, that he doesn't deeply study and understand.
study.
He understood
Yep.
the connection to Ifa and to Yoruba and to our ancestors in the ways that we practice, in the many ways that we practice, in the New World, um, our African spirituality. And he wanted to deal with that in a way that is respectful, and I think that he
Mm.
did
He
just
did
that.
excellent.
So
And
He did.
Miss Kenyatta, that leads me to my second favorite scene, and I hope y'all caught it because I did, but I caught it the second time I watched it.
What you about to say? Go ahead.
So there's this scene, and we all know that Sinners was filmed, literally filmed. So these settings have to be intentional because with film, you only got one shot sometimes.
Mhm.
right.
Hmm.
Okay. I want people to realize that Christianity was heavily critiqued in this film.
Definitely.
And
They were
the
upset, honey.
they were
They
big
were
mad,
upset.
We're
but
gonna
but
talk
no
about
lie.
that. We gave it a whole section today. So
Hold on.
go ahead.
Listen, they was big mad, but ain't nobody tell one lie. I want y'all to see the scene with me. The church is stark white.
Mhm.
Okay. The crosses are jet black.
Black. Yep, I caught it.
The pastor is wearing black. His skin is exaggerated because Saul Williams is not that dark. His
Yep.
skin is exaggerated to be darker than it is. And his hair is parted and styled very similar to Satan from Tales from the Hood.
Okay.
And that scene for me, and I took detail notes in the movie theater with my backlight dim as I could be, child. That scene to me was showing how Black people have accidentally peddled Satan through Christianity to our own people.
Blindly led.
And while that's happening, he took the boy's guitar and he laid it near the Christian altar that said, "In remembrance of me." Oh, y'all don't hear me. Y'all don't hear
Mhm.
me. Christianity deleted the memory of our people, but there's an ancestral relic sitting on a Christian altar that says, "In remembrance of me." Y'all don't hear me. I wish I could have paused the damn theater when I seen it. To take it a step further from when I saw that, there's later down the line when we find out that that guitar is Smoke and Stack's daddy's. So I want y'all to
Mhm.
put into perspective that that guitar was actually a magical ancestral relic that could be activated by the next bloodline relative who
Yep.
had the gift of music.
Mhm.
Which that scene is my favorite because I've told this before on my live and people laugh. When I was pregnant, I had an emotional breakdown watching Coco. Stay with me.
Oh yes, that's one of my things
Coco
too.
and Coco and Sammie are the same fucking person.
Hmm.
Coco
Yeah.
and Sammie are the same character having the same dilemma, but the young gentleman in Coco is Mexican, and this is our history. That is
Mhm.
exactly what I
I have
saw.
both.
Yep.
Cherie
And
does
I
too.
was watching it, and my sister was like, "Are you crying already?" And I
Hmm.
said, in remembrance of me, I said, they Stack and Smoke are ashamed of their father. So they lied and said, well, not they, Stack lied about who the guitar really belonged to.
I
Mhm.
have a point
And
about
it's
Stack too.
so, girl, it was so deep because I said, oh my goodness, the double entendre is you have forgotten me remembering Christ.
Mhm.
And that's what I saw, and it really stuck with my spirit. And I said that would be my focal point of tonight's discussion. So,
So
outside of the
go ahead.
ancestral scene, my favorite scene is that.
Is that okay? Okay, got it. Whoo.
One of the
Okay.
things I said about people watching this movie is I don't like to use the woke phrases. One of that's very funny. That means that we are all in alignment. Is one of the things that I told people, and I've said this on almost every single post. Is I said I'm glad our people are remembering. That's what I said. Because what people don't understand is that when somebody has to introduce you to something, right? No matter what it is, that means that you were doing something else before. So when they brought over this religion, which we can go down a whole chapter of hoodoo and voodoo and all that other stuff, because it was, that's what we did. When your people are from Benin, like literally ancestrally where my people are from, hoodoo, voodoo, not the same thing. Even when she was throwing the bones, not the same thing. But what people have to understand is that when you're being introduced to this Jesus and you're being introduced into this religion and saints and things like that, in voodoo, a lot of people don't realize that there are saints that are literally named after voodoo priests and priestesses because that was their way of being able to still practice their African spirituality from the thousands of tribes that were from Africa so that they didn't forget. And so as we water it down with religion and having to go to church every Sunday and then worship their gods, and then even to this day, like that woman that's like, I ironed my husband's, clothes so he can go be with a side chick. That is literal like religious abuse. And so one of the things that I said is that, you know, I find it amazing that our people are now remembering and our people are now, it's not even waking up, it's remembering. It's literally in your DNA to know these types of things. And what
Ooh.
a lot of people don't understand is that Memphis Chicago connection was a big deal. And also, I think Stack
Mhm.
represents the parts of the church where they say, oh, he used to beat me, but he ain't mean it. He ain't mean it. You understand what I'm saying? And they gloss over things that are literally causing our people PTSD. We're being abused, we're being ostracized, and so now you have the one brother Smoke that's like, I'll kill everybody in here because that's what I'm about and I have PTSD. But we don't know what to
Mhm.
call it because it's in the 1930s and 40s, right?
Right.
But then you have the brother Stack that's like, my dad used to beat me to unconsciousness, but he ain't mean it, and this guitar, I took that as he was embarrassed of his father and wanted to say that it was somebody more famous's guitar than what it was, which
Mhm.
comes into play in the very end. So for me, that ending scene where they had to use the guitar for what Sammy used it for me, that was kind of like the grandfather coming forward saying, not him. I'm going to,
Mm.
you got me. You got me. You had my own son take me out, but you're not going to get this one. So when people get to the afterlife, it's an ancestral thing that the number one thing that they want to do is protect their bloodline, right? And so when we
Mhm.
find out who the guitarist really is, I'm like, that makes sense that that was the tool and the instrument used. So you come from a bloodline of chosen ones. And so how many times in the Black family do we know that somebody is chosen or destined to do something? So what were we upset about Shakari for? What was the first thing we said? Where are your aunties? Where are your cousins that should have told you not to smoke that weed, Shakari Richardson, or not to do this or not to do that? So it's a community coming forward saying this person is chosen to do something. Stack and Smoke was already out the picture because they like, nope, my job is to protect. And so that's why I'm glad that she said that, which lets me know that we're all in alignment, that I'm glad that our people are remembering, because there is a reason that we are remembering this and saying like, oh yeah, so one of the first conjures or things that were considered witchcraft is a bowl of chicken soup. That's in
Hmm.
Boston because by way of, because how come my kids now feel better because Tituba or whoever it was, a slave, which let's also get into the fact that the Irish were part of the indentured servants. So they weren't slaves, but they were definitely servants and came from that. And so if you look, even when you look at American Gods, Mad Sweeney was darker skinned and so was Remick. And that's why I joked and said, Mad Sweeney walked so that Remick could dance. So, and we have deep ancestral roots in Ireland. So this movie encompassed everything. So if y'all didn't grow up with me, like I'm from Niagara Falls, but I have Irish root, I have Hispanic root, I have Black roots. You understand what I'm saying? So this whole movie is things that literally we are taught like from coming up. You understand what I'm saying? So even the way that, and I caught something else. I just went to see it again last night with my grills and with my niece because I'm like, because we had to be ancestral. I'm glad that we are now remembering, which is why those of us that were ready and those of us that were tired, we welcome the movie. But the people that are deep into Christianity and deep rooted into it, that they don't even want to open their mind, that's why they say the devil don't need to go far to get to you. That's why he ain't bothering you, because he already got you. So that's an excellent synopsis that she just gave.
Yeah, absolutely I absolutely agree with what Red said, and I want to add, coming from so I'm a preacher's kid,
Mm-hmm.
on
Yep.
my daddy's side and my mother's side. I'm fourth generation on my mother's side. I was
Yep.
born into a Pentecostal family, and I
Ooh.
was raised Pentecostal, but my family also has Caribbean roots, and so
Mhm.
I dare say, I know that we all know like what syncretism is. Like Scott was saying that, there are voodoo priests, I mean voodoo saints that are named after,
Correct.
Christian saints so that they could continue that practice. I I uh, want to talk about, for me, what the critique of Christianity felt like in this movie, in that it did not, to me, feel like um denigration as much as a
No.
highlighting that there are a group of us who have always remembered. Like I grew up Pentecostal, but also I grew up with my daddy putting a jar of water underneath his pillow every night to catch the bad dreams. Like they've always existed together, and I
Oh,
think that's, for me, what I picked up is, for Black people, these what seems like divergent spiritual practices have always existed together in our community, and we've always used them when we needed them together in our community.
let's talk about this because now we're gonna go ahead and just get into this theme since we already got into it.
Ashley, can I respond to her real quick?
Go ahead.
I will say that the critique of Christianity was not malicious, but it was to the point. For
Yeah,
example, Christian God nor Jesus came to save him in the end. When he began to pray, so did the damn vampire.
exactly.
And that's what let me know what the shade they was really throwing. So, but the ancestral talisman and his older cousin in the Mississippi ancestral indigenous water saved his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, even
Under
though
a
they
full
mean
moon.
no under a full moon, so to me they mean no harm toward Christians, but they are saying it don't work like you think it do. At
Oh,
least not
definitely.
for
It,
you.
it definitely,
Yes.
absolutely.
Well,
Yes.
Christians even tell us don't. And I took it this way. Just like you know the Bible, the devil know the Bible too. And that's how
Absolutely.
I
Yep, that's
knew
exactly what I
that
was
you
going to
are
mention because when we first introduced to Remick, he's literally falling out the sky.
Yeah. Oh, it took my second watch to catch that. And they made that camera work specific to make it look like he fell from the sky, like
Yep.
he
Hmm.
was thrown out of
falling
heaven.
out of
They specifically did that.
And we all know that how Lucifer in the Bible it speaks about how Lucifer will go up to God, or Satan will go up to God, and like when he was talking about Lot and have these conversations. And so he knows the word in and out. When he was
Yeah,
testing Jesus in the and when Jesus
in
was
the
fasting
wilderness.
those 40 days and
Yeah.
40 days, he was spitting out scripture, but kind of perverting it in a way, right? So that's what that ending scene with them all saying the Lord's Prayer. That's what it kind of brought out for me.
Yeah.
For the comment that was just posted about he chose the wrong prayer. I see where you're going with that, and I could have even seen how that could have worked for film if they chose it. But I'm gonna take it up a level and say instead of speaking his prayer, he should have sang it. Because what
Absolutely.
he had learned is that on the frequency in which he sings, he can call spirit. And I made my sister laugh because I said to her, I would have said, Lord Granddaddy, somebody come help me. You know what I mean? Like, and you
I
know,
said the
because
same thing. I'd have called every ancestor in that conduit
right,
I'd have sang
because
every ancestor's
under a
name.
full moon.
To talk about, to basically add on to what you just said, Red. I don't every recap and every from my perspective, I don't think Sammie actually understood the power that he
Of course
He
had.
not.
did not.
Because from the
he didn't.
perspective of the fire coming down in the building and the ancestors coming around him and surrounding him, and then it going around the entire building, they didn't change at all. They definitely didn't notice any of the things that he was conjuring up when he was bringing all those spirits from the past and the present and the future into that space. The only person who actually saw it was Remick, because I don't even think the two racist vampires that he had with them actually saw, because their eyes were glowing, but his eyes were glowing so bright red in that scene where he was actually looking at everything that was going on. And then like after you see Remick staring at everything that was going on and you zoom back out, it's the building, and then you see the other vampire's eyes finally glow red. So I honestly don't think at the time in the water when he was saying the prayer, I don't think he knew that he had the power to just rebuke him at all.
No,
And
But
you're
you
a
know who I
hundred
think
percent.
did
You're a
know that
hundred
he
percent
did?
correct, Jay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What? I'm sorry. Can you get it real quick? You're 100% correct, Jay. Here's the part where he found out though. Remick comes straight to the door and say, "I just want Sammie. I
Yep.
need him to call my ancestors." He told them.
Yep.
Once you this is the disbelief of black trauma. Somebody told you what your gift was without doubt. They have unalived a whole party to get to your ass, and you still didn't believe that your voice was the key to the situation. They told Sammie what it was. I remember way before they even get to this horrific part. When they are in the car and
Yep.
Sammie hits
I
the
knew right
first
then and there.
note,
When
Stack
Stack
looked at
looked
him
at
like
him.
the
Yep.
fuck, like, boy, I didn't expect that voice to come out you like
Yep.
that.
That
And
was
I
all
think
that.
another thing that gets missed is the reason why Stack and Smoke are relevant is because they are bloodline relatives
Yeah.
to Sammie. And I think that through unalivement and Schmurder, that's how Smoke and Stack reached the ancestors. I
Mm,
think every
mm.
person in their
Blood. Get that
bloodline
blood out.
had a marker that was their gift that gave them that ancestral or spiritual pull, because I want y'all to remember Smoke is not unalive yet when he first sees his woman and his child again.
No, that's right. He is
No,
He
he's in
was
between
at
the
the
realms.
max.
looking between
Yeah,
the
he's in
veil.
between the
But
He was
this
realms.
the
looking between
thing.
the veil.
But this
Yeah.
the thing.
He's in between the realms.
He was at the veil not only because he was unaliving, but also because he had unalived in the name of his blood and all the people he had lost that he loved that day. And I think when he is at apex mode of protection, he too can cross the veil.
Mm.
It, and it's
That's
Well,
interesting
that
to
was their
note.
awesome.
job. That was their
It's
job.
interesting to
Was to
note in
protect.
that particular scene where Smoke does see Annie and the baby. A lot of people felt like, why? I heard people get upset, like he could have survived. He
He
was
didn't want
never
to.
supposed to
He
survive,
wasn't,
first of
yeah.
all. And if
Nope.
you notice, he took the protection off of him
Agreed.
before the clan even
Before he
showed up.
started.
He was
Yep.
ready to go. He was ready to go.
Yep.
But let me spin us backwards real quick. Well, we're still in the same vein. The theme of Christianity and African traditional religion. That theme is very prominent in the film. Now, my whole overall view of this, the film was about duality. You
Yes,
have
it is.
twins, you have Christianity, and you have African traditional religion. You have the concept of black and white. You have the concept of other backgrounds and cultures coming together. The duality of it all. And I'm going to something Kenyatta said because I wanted to make sure I said this. She said she grew up Pentecostal. Her daddy still slept with that water to catch them bad dreams. It was always incorporated. I've heard so many people argue the demonicness of this film. And I'm like, if that's all you saw, then that's all you wanted to see. Because it was so much more than that. And it wasn't even demonic, because I need people to know history before they start saying things. Like, I need them to know that the Kojic church was founded by somebody who was a
By
voodoo.
conjurers.
By conjurers. Like, I need you to
I was waiting
understand
for
that a lot
somebody
of
to
those
say,
things your ancestors and your aunties and grandmas and great grandmas did that you didn't understand, that was from that side of things. My grandmother getting mad when I swept her feet, that was
And
from that side of
when you
things.
split a pole, when you put
When
a
you
hat
split
on
a
the bed,
pole,
salt
when
at
you
the
put the
door.
person on the floor.
sprinkling red dust or
How
salt
many
on
people
the
ever had
doorpost.
welcome at their door? You don't do that.
Exactly. If you go down south, especially to
Raised not
like,
to do that.
especially like
South
Louisiana.
Carolina. Oh,
Yep. If you go down south, especially like Louisiana or Memphis or Mississippi, take note of how many houses have a certain hint or color of blue on the
that's why
ceiling,
I'm in my
on the
shop. It's called
porch.
Haint Blue.
That haint blue is a
It ain't
legit
green. It
color
ain't
to
blue.
ward off spirits.
Yep.
Exactly. That wall back there in D. Scott's frame is considered one of the haint blue colors to ward off bad spirits. But it is such a duality, because even when you consider Sammie, when you consider Sammie's character, a lot of people seem to be getting confused and saying, well, he sold his soul in the end. No, he didn't.
No,
No,
he
he
didn't.
didn't. No, he didn't. What he did was he decided, I grew up learning the word. I have now seen the word thrown back at me from something evil, because they know the word too. And I was so glad that they chose Irish. I was so glad that they chose the Irish people,
Yeah.
because I said, if you don't know the history of the Irish people, right now is about the time to
They
want to
was
go learn.
niggas.
Yeah,
But
they were
what Remick,
colonized too.
right? What Remick
Hold on,
said to him in
really
that
quickly
moment.
though.
What Remick
Ask.
said to him. Hold on, Red. What Remick said to him in that water, when he said, those words were the very words that that man who took my father's land said, and they still bring me comfort. I was like, oh Lord, okay. So we're gonna
I,
use the word to show that that word was corrupted and meant
Absolutely.
not
Used to rock
cause
bottoms.
That's
harm.
what bring it comfort. Exactly.
Here's the part that I think the people watching the movie missed, in my opinion, because I can't say this a fact, and I would love to talk to Ryan Coogler one day so he can tell me if I'm right or wrong. Sammie did choose God,
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
because Sammie chose God the moment he chose his voice.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the movie showed me, because
Yep.
your father told you church. I mean, your father told you God was at the church, and Remick told you God was in eternity. But you realized God was your voice, because both sides of the war wanted your voice. Your
Yep.
father wanted you to speak and sing at the church. Remick wanted you to speak and sing to resurrect his ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
You was the God both things were chasing.
Yep.
If God had existed with Remick or with his father, then why would they have been playing tug of war for him?
Exactly.
God was you.
I absolutely agree with you, Red. Like, so,
Yep.
I am a singer. That is my vocation. I was a musical theater major. I've been singing since I could talk. And for me, to me, that was the message, that God was the gift. Like, like we exist in this physical realm, and use, like you said earlier, use the gifts that we come here with to reconnect ourselves with spirit and with our ancestors. And I think that he chose that guitar, and he chose, in that moment, he realized he was choosing God, because he realized in the end it was the guitar that saved him. In the end, it was the music that saved him. It wasn't the prayer that he said, and it wasn't nothing else. The music is what saved him. And he was like, you know what? I could come here and be in this church, or I could go with the thing that just saved my life. And so I'm gonna go with the thing that just got me through the horrific thing in my life.
Thank you. Because my whole thing was, how are y'all mad at this boy for not dropping that guitar when that guitar is the reason he walked away from that alive? Like, you can't expect somebody to drop their protection. That's not how life works. Like, this just saved my whole life. If it wasn't for this guitar, I might not have made it out of that scenario. So I didn't understand people saying, but I did. Part of me was like, they're trying really hard to tie his story in with the story of uh great guitar player
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson,
Robert
who
Johnson.
met the crossroads, met the devil at the
Yep.
crossroads, chose the devil, chose to sell his soul. But that's also the duality of it. I don't think people realize that music can destroy and create. Music can go either way. Even if we just go the biblical route of saying Lucifer, the angel of light who was in charge of music, then sent to the earth. So of course he can enter things through music. That's what would make sense. But that doesn't mean that music can't still be of God and that be your gift. You have a choice to make. That's what it means. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna throw this out there. The second I saw how prominent of a role music played and how it broke the veil and how there was that duality of your music can be of God or can be to bring about the good, or you can choose the opposite. How many of y'all thought about Kendrick Lamar's Reincarnated? Because that song,
Absolutely. I thought about Kendrick almost immediately watching this movie. Because he
all
does
I
with
could
his
think,
music what Ryan did with this music, with this movie. He is always invoking ancestors with his music.
oh my God,
Always.
always. And I thought, if I don't know if y'all watching this, I don't know if y'all have listened to Kendrick Lamar's whole GNX album, but Reincarnated, specifically go listen to that song and listen to the last verse of it. When he is talking to God, he is talking to God in the last verse of that song. And at the end of it, he said, I rewrote the devil's story just to take our power back. Like, yes, Satan was sent here and has been put through musicians to bring about his message. But some musicians chose to take power out of that and do good and do right and choose to empower people versus destroy them. I was like, man, it's too much going on here. I felt a lot of things with that. I listen to GNX almost every day. Me too. It's sad how much I've listened to that album.
Me
It
too.
really It really is. Wait, who was a part of the 27 Club? Who was a part of the 27 Club?
Robert Johnson.
Robert
So it's
Robert
Johnson.
Johnson.
a whole bunch of
Um,
musicians who they claim sold their soul, and they all died before by the age of 27.
By the age of
It's a
27.
very long list of
so
It's
can
a
I
musicians.
long
say
list.
but
something about that? Can I say something
Mm-hmm.
about that, which I found out from Ryan Coogler when he did a recent interview? All of them on the 27 Club, which is the reason that it was, people think that this movie was about breaking down Christianity. It was not. It was actually about music. The movie was literally about music as a summoning tool. It had nothing to do with the Christian church. Every member of that 27 Club that he speaks about, every single one of them were PKs. They were preacher kids. Ryan
Wow.
Coogler said this out of his own mouth, and he's from Oakland, California, which means that if you've ever been to Oakland, you know, most of us have, they say it's like a Brooklyn on the West Coast. So when you even hear Ryan speak, he's like, he did the vast research of that. While I'm watching him, I'm looking at him and I'm like, even the way he was with the guitar and all that other stuff. And I was just like, it's giving BB King, it's giving Lucille, it's giving, so even so much so that the end character, that's Buddy Guy. Buddy Guy will be at Seneca Niagara Casino, the blues player, playing on June 6th. He chose to play that role because he's paying homage to him, because Buddy Guy is like 80 something years old. Another
Mm-hmm.
fun fact, this is how meticulous Coogler is, and this is something about fashion I did not know. So people didn't catch the FUBU reference when he's like at the truck and he's like, for us, by us.
Yeah,
And then
I caught
when you fast forward to the end, he's wearing Coogee. Well, somebody was like, Coogee was bought out, the Australian brand, by FUBU. I did not know that. So I got to look it up, right? In 2003, they bought it. So he was very intentional about making sure that everything was black, black, blackety black, 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 and then black. And
it.
so
of the 27 Club, you're talking about in every single, like the Coven, what is it, the Supernatural, they redid that story about the man at the crossroads with the devil. That story is retold even in white pop culture. You understand what I'm
Mhm.
saying to you? About this situation with the devil at the crossroads, and we all know who runs the crossroads. You know, I
Yeah.
got Elegua over here. I got all seven of my Orishas over there. We got Elekes on the wall. We got the Haint Plu. Listen, throughout the entire time, and I'm not a practitioner like y'all. I practice kindness, but I grew up in the church too. My granddaddy was a preacher. I'm part of the Ezel family. All my uncles is preachers, so I grew up in the church. And so somebody had said something so beautiful today. And it was a white man that actually said it. And he said, religion is for people that are scared of going to hell. And spirituality is for people who have already been to hell. And so
Whew.
that's what I take this, what it is that we do as far as practicing, and as far as, because I don't want to, because they've been calling me a witch since I'm a child. You know what I mean? Because that's nice. That's nice to say to somebody. You understand what I'm saying? So when we talk about even the Salem witches, right? Every time somebody says, well, I'm a direct descendant of the Salem witches, but you keep forgetting to talk about Tituba. So at the end of the day, she was the original Black witch. So when we're talking about everything that happened down there with the music and with Christianity, that didn't take anything against Christianity. It was just saying, when you have a gift, and so we just watched this with the NFL draft. Look at Deion Sanders and his children. Them kids was just rejoicing after the whole situation. He went fourth, fifth round. They daddy still is a multimillionaire. They mama still is a, is it was dating Jay
Mhm.
Prince, who runs the whole entire city of Houston, Texas. They're very protected. Those children are protected. Children function differently when they're protected. They get to have a voice, right? They get to just go and do whatever it is that they want to do, right? And so that is the honor of Smoke and Stack, of them saying what somebody said about the protection. Let's also look at the time frame. They're not that far removed from the ancestors prior to them that was on that Nat Turner shit. They not that far removed. So how do we know that Smoke and Stack wasn't just reincarnated as their ancestors? Like, we'll just lay everybody out here for this one
Mhm.
right here. So it's no different than when I ask people, where are your aunties? Where's your mama at? Why do you not know that baby wipes is not going to help that? Why do you not take a bath? Why do you not? And some of the practices that we have in every single day life, some of the practices we have, it comes from that African ancestry, that even if it wasn't passed down to you directly, right? I had a show in 2016 about throwing bones. I didn't even know what that was. And then when I went and looked it up, I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what y'all want me to do now. I don't take nothing for granted. And I think that Ryan Coogler did a very good job of making sure that all of that was researched, because all of us, when she threw them bones the second time, we all knew what they said. If you're a
Yep.
practitioner, you knew what they said. So we already knew, like, oh God, no, you know what I mean? So that tells you everything that you need to know. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I said I'm glad that our people are remembering, not waking up, but remembering. We've been
Mhm.
awake, we just didn't remember. It's already in the blood. You don't need to do anything else.
Mhm. Mhm. Listen, I want to highlight while we're here. I think they call the blues the devil's music because it's so closely related to coming from home.
Absolutely.
Interesting thing Delta Slim said in one of the little clips they showed of him and Sammie talking to one another. He said they forced the religion on us. We brought this from home. That I don't think people realize how intricately the blues is tied into gospel and worship music. Like the blues is not the reason so many people went on to make the blues this devil music type of thing is because they knew what it could evoke in people. They knew the power that it had, just like any music. But the blues in and of itself, it's about pain. No different than country music, which country music is something Black folks created too, had a
Ooh.
heavy hand in. You have music, you can't tell an oppressed people that music born of pain is demonic or is of the devil. This is born of our trauma. It's that's just all it is. When they were in that car and they passed that chain gang and he told his story and then started humming, I said that you hum and you cry when you don't have the words. You hum, and that hum sounded, that's what made me tear up, because that was like just from his soul, like his gut. I was like, oh, that's pain. That is painful. He's doing that to keep from crying.
Yeah.
And
Real quick.
can I mention on for that scene? So like I watched the interview with Del Rolando talking about that scene, and he said that scene had been written, but they wasn't sure how that it was going to be plotted, how it was going to be staged, and Ryan gave him basically leeway
Mm-hmm.
to find the way to express it that felt genuine and authentic to him. And so that humming was improvised. Like the
Oh,
words were from the page, but when
yep.
he went into that humming, it was improvised. And what I found so amazing when he was talking about that, saying, and he said Mike went with me. Mike talking about Michael B. Jordan because he was a trained actor, so he knew how to just go with it. But Sammie
Didn't
was
know.
new to this is his first role. He didn't know what to do. And so Michael B. Jordan, when he turns around, he's like, boy, you got that guitar there. He was bringing him into the scene because he said he was sitting there like a deer with headlights. And to me, that's just an extent, like even in the filming of this film, there's an extension of like this pass down of knowledge from ancestor to young person into walking into their gift. And like, I was like, God, even in
Yep.
just the filming of this movie,
And
they were
And
tapping
this
me seeing it the second time after seeing that interview with Delroy, I paid attention, and you could see Sammie did that. The actor didn't know. He was like, you could tell, and it was just like, oh my god. And I'm so the deal Ryan. Just a side note, the deal Ryan struck for this movie is rare. It doesn't happen before. Before it to happen for a black man, especially a black filmmaker, it's very, very rare. But I am so glad that that deal included him having final cut. He decided this stays, and they couldn't do anything about it. Because I feel like it would have been totally different had he not had final choice and cut of everything.
but
So
I
Well, yeah, because he said they had already cut it, and Ryan was like, Delroy said that he talked to Ryan about why it was important for it to stay,
I was
and Ryan
important.
was like,
Yep.
"Yeah, you're right," and that's why I got to stay.
So
Go ahead, Red.
Sammy not knowing what to do was perfect because in real life, when young children sit in the spirit of storytelling with older people, they don't know what to do. A lot of the times when new life first picks up the weight of our history for the first time, they are awkward. They
Mm-hmm.
are weird. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to respond because you're hearing an ancestral truth that you feel is true, but your new life does not have the experience to
Right.
absorb it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what he displayed. And that's why the scene is so authentic. I also feel like, and this is an interesting choice for Michael Coogler because he is very much so defending and supporting the stance of being foundational Black American.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I that's why I appreciated him talking about specifically the Irish, the indigenous Indian, and the African, because majority of Black folks in this country are made up of all three of those people.
Yep.
One of my family names is McLeod, and I feel that what makes this movie special is the same scene we see when Sammie is singing. I feel that is what happened when they were filming the movie. I feel that the ancestors were coming to Coogler and telling him what scenes were necessary. I feel that the ancestors came to Delroy and made him hum. I feel
Mm-hmm.
that the ancestors showed up and dictated what was proper dancing, what wasn't. There's even an article where the actor who plays Bo Chow
Mm.
was asked, "We want this to be accurate for Asian people too. What do you know so that when we make the ancestors pop up for y'all, what should be here?"
Yep.
And they had to dig deep in their history and answer accurately and learn more even about themselves so that they could participate in the movie. Only someone who's connected to spirit world would give a damn about another spirit being represented. That's
Mm-hmm.
what spirituality does. It
Yep.
acknowledges the ebb and flow of everything that's ever been in existence and how relevant it all is.
Yep.
So for me, just to double back to the ancestral scene, and Jay made a brilliant point when she says, nobody knows this is happening but us and the vampires outside. which also means, depending on what part of the spiritual veil or spectrum you believe in, the other spirits are not there either. They are in their time, and all of this stuff is overlapping.
Overlapping. Yep. That's the way
Right?
I
So,
That,
perceived it.
right.
Yeah.
Because even the girl that's twerking, that's the future. She at a house party in her reality in that corner. You see what I'm
yep.
saying? Like everybody is, so he had the ability to not just call spirit, but to call time forward. All
Right.
Yep.
phases of time he could call forward right then. And why that was important to Remick when we're having the religious discussion is because Remick is so old that we don't even get a time frame of when the hell his ass appears. We don't know if Remick is a natural born vampire or if Remick has a maker. We don't even know. That's how
I
old his
believe
ass is.
Remick has a
We don't
maker.
even
I
know.
believe Remick has a maker only because he did talk about his father. He talked about his father and
Right.
land being
Mhm.
stolen and the Christianity and the Bible being given and forced onto them.
Yeah.
I believe he is not a
No,
born
I believe
original.
it too. But saying that he has a father does not make him human because
That's true.
vampires did have the ability to birth themselves depending on what mythology you go in.
That's
I
They
true.
agree.
do have the human ability to create life, and they would camouflage themselves as humans, which means they would take abuse, they would pretend to be slaves. Because remember, he knew how to make himself look real feeble and pitiful to get in them people's house. So they
Hmm.
could have been getting whipped and stuff throughout the day, and then at night getting revenge. So
That's true.
I'm still struggling with if Remick has ever truly been a human or if he has existed so long that he's seen the multiple phases of humanity battling religion.
Well, I
So
know in the
go ahead.
interview, both Ryan and Remick, and Jack, when they're talking about Remick, says that he's about 1,000 years old. So
I
he
saw
has
Right.
that.
lived for 1,000 years. He has seen all the iterations of the worst of humanity. Like, really,
Yep.
and I think that it was that having witnessed the worst of humanity over a millennia, basically, that was what was so motivating for him to seek out Sammie, because the everybody he's ever loved is gone
Yep.
over and over and over again. Like he has lost people over and over and over again, and to be able to maybe get to be able to call those people that he loves forth and be able to be in connection with them was such a strong pull, even as a vampire, because he had lived so long to see so much.
So y'all remember the scene where the roof burned off when they were all dancing after the scene everybody loves? I thought that was like, burn the roof, like for the
The
song.
roof is on fire.
A a very specific person who was intentional about researching this said that remember when Remick was standing outside and the whole entire club had burned down? He found an article that showed that in like the 1300s or something like that, there was something that was transcribed that a boat had come from overseas, from over there to Boston, which is why we have such a large Irish population in Boston, which is where 40 minutes outside of Salem, which is where those indentured servants came from. And they said when they got to the boat was burned all the way down. They said that they thought there were vampires, and this is back in the 1300s, that everything was burnt all the way down. They said there was nothing but blood and everything in the floorboards. And they said they only found, I think, like two remaining live people there that were like horrified, like in the bottom of the boat and like an animal. And so he was leading to the fact that Coogler may have used that as a purpose to say, because remember when Remick was outside and it burned down, I'm like, did the club burn down? And it almost looked like he was looking at it like, I remember when we were brought here in the first place by these people. So very much like when the slave ship, not much, not the same, but when they were brought over here to be servants, right? Vampire got on the boat, which is much like the situation in Louisiana when they said that, oh,
How did we, you knew I was going there. How did, vampires end up, or the undead end up in Louisiana when you were stealing people from over there? They end up boarding a ship. And that's why they think that New Orleans is so haunted with these spirits or these haints, because of the fact that it boarded those boats. And so a lot of people were choosing to be part of the undead as opposed to going into this life of slavery. So I just thought that that was an interesting take. And this was a white man that looked it up and said that may have been what Remick was looking at when he looked outside the club. When the entire club was burnt down, it looked exactly like that ship that was burnt down that showed up in Boston Harbor, which is where a lot of the Irish went to become indentured servants. The
He was
movie just has so
referencing
many layers.
the Easter eggs that Ryan left for us. There's a Spotify playlist
That's what Jay
Mhm.
was
with,
just showing.
with those headlines that he's
Yeah,
referencing that Ryan purposely left for us.
Yeah.
If you go to the
absolutely.
sinners playlist on
Mhm.
Ryan, I think Ryan,
Spotify.
we've already established that Ryan Coogler is very intentional. And I think one of his intentions was to pretty much force people to read and to study after this
Mhm.
film, because you
Yep.
can't just watch it and then not be interested in these backstories. It's like, for me, that's impossible. The type of person I am, I need to know about backstories. Now, speaking of that, y'all, real quick before we continue, hello, everybody who has joined. Listen, don't worry. I know full well I'm gonna do a second one of these because we can talk about this film for 10 hours straight. We gonna
Easy.
stay on for another probably an hour if y'all can. If you can't, that's okay. But I'm gonna do a part two because we're not gonna get to everything in one part. And I knew that. I knew that coming in. It's just too much in the film. But I'm gonna try to move us along just because it already came up. The first of all, the opening scene of the movie where they show the different cultures and they talk about in each culture what they have as their voice. From African culture, you have a griot. That's somebody who passes along the stories. It's a different term for the Irish. It's a different term for the Choctaw nations. It's a different
The
term for
fire
that
keepers.
the keepers, right? These are the keepers of the stories, the keepers of our ancestral lines, right? So let's get into these different people groups. Baby, I'm gonna tell you, Ryan had elements of everything in here because it was also comedy. There
Everything.
was also comedy in here. I pulled some
Yep.
stuff that had me crying because let's talk about the Choctaw
They
natives
black.
real quick.
Period. They're black.
They got on that scene and they
They
said, you
think
know what?
black.
If you
They
let
said
them
it's
in there,
above me
you're on
now.
your own. They
Oh, they said
came.
it's below me now. They said never mind.
They offered. They walked up. They said, "Ma'am, we are in pursuit of a dangerous individual, and we feel he may have come on your property." She said, "No, lying, right?" Then he said he knew because them buzzards, three of them, was circling that house.
Boom.
He said, "Okay, now, ma'am, I hope you
He's
did not welcome him in because if so." She again want to pull that shotgun. He said, "Well, you know what?" In his native tongue, he said, "Well, God be with you. We
You're right.
leave."
It's above me now.
That to me was the first funny scene to me because I was like, that native said, "We already know what the hell you about
So I
to get
have a
in."
little theory about that because of the opening scene. So the first time I saw the movie, we was coming late because I'm black and I was late. And so therefore, guess what I do. And so I didn't see what they called them. Remember how he was burnt up, whatever, right?
Yeah.
It looked like he fell from the sky. I
Mhm.
personally think because the Native Americans have their own spiritual and religious practices, and having worked with Native Americans for the last 15 years, they are very serious about their powwows and about what it is that they do. They never lost their culture. We were robbed of ours. They never, they still, the things that they do, they practice. So when we see Remick for the first time and he's burnt the fuck up, I'm like, them Native Americans was tearing his ass up. And
Tearing
so
his ass up.
it felt to me like they had him in some type of, realm hold, some type of sleeper hold, some type of abusive situation where they was like, you ain't going nowhere. And he was able to get away from them. That's how I
Mhm.
took where he came from being burnt the hell up when I learned that their griot was called the fire keepers or whatever. They had him in some sort of whatever. And then, because remember, he had a black eye. They was whooping his ass. That's what I'm saying. I was like, I think the Native Americans was beating the hell out of him. And it was like, oh, he done escaped. Okay, well, we gonna go get him. No, vampires are not fallen angels. They are just
Yeah,
the
that's two different
undead.
things, Joe.
They are
We'll
just the
we'll talk about it.
undead. Um,
But I was like, they was beating the hell out of Remick, and then he done escaped out that realm some type of way because I believe that Sammy's voice pierced that veil and allowed him to be able to escape. So that was just a little thing that I felt like, because I'm like, nah, vampires aren't fallen angels, they're part of the undead. And so when you look at that, and he had the black eye, I said, them Native Americans was beating the hell out of him. They had him somewhere tucked away, and I think they was beating the hell out of him like, we would like him back because we can handle him. You can't. Y'all ain't even, on the same page with whatever it is that you got going on, because at that time, remember, it's white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. They had to be introduced to Catholicism.
Yeah,
Okay,
white people
Catholicism
gave
done
up their
came over
culture
from
too
Spain.
for whiteness.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. That came over from somewhere. Nobody wanted to be a Catholic back at that time. Everybody was white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, or they were Lutheran, right? Or Methodist. So that was my theory when he was burnt up. I said them Native Americans was beating the hell out of Remick. And then I believe that Sammy's voice pierced the veil and allowed him to get out in that thin time right before the sun went down. And they was like, all right, well, if you ain't gonna give them to us, we gonna go and peace out. And then everybody was like, well, how come they didn't come back? Because they know better. They
They know
said,
better.
they know better. They was like, we're not about to be bothered with you. And it goes into the same conversation with Asian people. We gonna get to Grace. Because here's the thing, everybody wanted to
We
whoop
gonna get
Grace.
to Grace. We gonna get
Everybody wanted
pause.
to
Don't
whoop
even
Grace.
go into Grace yet, because we
I'm gonna
gonna get to
tell
Grace.
you this, and I've worked with Asian people for years. They mind their business and they eat their food. Okay, they mind their business and they eat their food. They have been neutral in all of this because they didn't fit into the white community, they didn't fit into the black community. But you know what community they fit into? The green community. Money. They was gonna get their money. So
We
whether
gonna get
it
into the
was
child.
whether it was whatever. So, people have their opinions about Grace. I said, but I think that Coogler did a good job of casting each nationality and ethnicity the way that they are. Native
They
Americans
are.
said, you want to give us the vampire, we gonna let y'all deal with it, and he could tear up your race.
Well,
Grace said that they didn't threaten to kill your daughter. I don't know if y'all know there's a lady.
Don't go too far into that. I
No,
don't
no,
want
no,
you
my,
to go too far into that.
no.
oh,
But that is a real thing down in the Delta. Like, there are Asians that speak, especially in New Orleans. There's Vietnamese down there that make a better king cake than people that I'm buying them off the street. My king cakes for my shop for Black House Beignet came from a Vietnamese recipe because they use more butter. I don't like no dry king cake. And that's just
Yep.
what it is. They about that money.
Yep.
my theory on Remick's arrival
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
is that it wasn't Sammie at first. I
Mm.
think Remick came to the Delta on purpose because he heard the voices were there.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
While he had come in the night, the daytime came and he went to rest. And him and the Native Americans come across each other.
Mm-hmm.
And because they could identify what he was, they went in on his ass.
Mm-hmm.
He knew he could not fight them in daylight. So he was trying to either find refuge until it got dark
Mhm.
or somebody to trick like he did.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He knew the sun was going down soon. So I believe Remick had all intentions of going back outside, like, what's up?
Mhm.
The Indians knew that, and that's why they said, "Hey, man, we're gonna have to let this go, however it's gonna go, because if the moonlight come, he will overpower us. He can't
Oh,
do it
yeah.
in the day, but he can take everybody out here. If the sun go down, we offered the bitch some help. She said, "No, let's slide because we don't know." And
Raggedy
then
bitch at that.
and this my thing. I don't think they were cowardly at all. I think what they really
Nope.
did was they went home, told the homies, and said, "We're gonna regroup in case he shows back up," because their people are still there. And they
Yep.
didn't know how long he was gonna be there. Also, they knew he had the ability to turn other humans. So my
Mhm.
imagination tells me that they went back to their nation to prepare for war if it became necessary.
Yep.
That's why they left.
And
Oh, yeah,
and
Absolutely.
they ain't mess with them
here's what
people like
too.
that.
Here's another thing real quick while we own this before I forget, because now I'm seeing it different. I do see how people got fallen angel because, like I said, they purposely panned that
Mhm.
camera to make it look like Remick came from the sky like a
Mhm.
fallen. That was how they tied vampirism into evil and the devil That's how they made the tie to me. It's like if he come from the sky as a fallen angel and a vampire, we can mix these two stories. But the other interesting part was when he came to that door and told those people, that white couple, the Indians are chasing me. The words out that man's mouth was, ain't no Indians for hundreds of miles. So they chased you far if they chasing you.
Right.
Yeah, beat his
And
ass.
it was also the I do believe that they had him and they was whooping his ass. But
Yeah.
also he was still when he fell from the sky, he was still in the sun. His skin was gonna burn in that sunlight anyway. The sun was still up. So when he fell, I was like, he burning from the sun. He got messed up by the Indian folks, by the Native Americans. And what was interesting to me there too, I heard this from somebody a couple of people I was speaking to on a post who are of Choctaw Nation. That's their lineage. They were like, the wolf is a major symbol for us, and that is the natural predator to a vampire.
Yeah.
I said, oh,
The hunters.
Right. That's why vampires and werewolves got beef.
Right.
Yeah.
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 I said,
Well,
okay.
it's so interesting because, I definitely get the imagery of, tying Remick to evil with that imagery of falling from
Fallen angel,
the
yep.
sky, but also because I'm a horror girly and I love vampire lore. Vampires in almost every lore are shapeshifters, and they
Yes.
usually shapeshift into something that flies. And so him falling out of the sky was to my mind was because the sun did come out and his powers were weakened in the sun, and so he fell from whatever shape that he had shifted into uh back into that other form. Like that's the only way you get hundreds of miles away from if the Choctaw are 100 miles away, the only way you get away that far is by flying. You can't outrun a horse.
No, I got another theory, Kenyatta. Now y'all, I'm pulling this one out my ass, but follow me. No, I'm for real. I made this one up from scratch, but it makes sense to me. So, Smoke and Stack are leaving an area in Chicago where the Irish and the Italian are. There is a serpent on the back of their truck.
Mm, mm,
That
mm.
Chicago is hundreds of miles away. And vampires are known to shapeshift. In my imagination, the vampire was the serpent that hid out in their truck from the sunlight. When they stab it and leave it, we assume it dies, but I don't think so. I think later when they leave it, it turns back into the vampire, comes across the American Indians, and is chased in its weak form to their house. And
That's a
I
good
don't
theory.
think he connected that he was with Smoke and Stack per se. I think that's coincidental.
I can see it.
I
I
can
like
see
that.
that.
I can
I
see
can
that.
see that.
Now,
And like I said, I pulled it from nowhere.
I
But I'm
like that
saying,
though.
how did he travel that far? Because even for a vampire, it had been daylight for quite some time. How
Yeah.
the hell he traveled that safe? And I
Yeah.
think he was the serpent in the back of their truck.
And it
I
was a
like that
covered
theory.
truck too.
And
It
it
was
was
a
a
covered
covered
Right.
truck,
truck.
so he
That's
was
what
in the
I'm
Yep.
dark.
saying.
I like that.
The covered
Now,
truck.
let's go back real quick to the white couple and him showing up. It was quite amazing to me how quickly, as soon as he noticed that Klan outfit on that bed, he knew exactly what to say.
I already wrote a whole post about it, baby.
Listen, he was able to, he knew just from being around for thousands of years, let me cater to their hate. Let me cater to their hate. If I can cater to their hate, then they're gonna let me in. And that's
Right.
exactly what he catered to. And it mimics to me what Mary later did. Because Mary catered to their whiteness with her whiteness when she went out there thinking she could do something.
And in both cases, their whiteness was their undoing. Both the Klan people and Mary. Because the fact of the matter is Mary, though she, in 1932 America would have been considered black because of the white one drop rule, she was passing. And so the years of passing gave her a sense of privilege that she thought would protect her, and she bought into the ideology of the innocence of whiteness. So even though she knew that these people was off a little bit, she was like, oh, well, they off, but at the heart of them, they still is just people. And so she went out there, she did all her little talking, and they spooked her. And even after they spooked her, she turned her back on them because she still was buying into the innocence, the decency of whiteness, and that's how they got her. And getting her is what brought the danger that had been contained outside into the safe space that the Black people had created for themselves.
But
Listen,
hold
can we
Which
up.
talk
is what
about this
Who
for a
sent
minute?
happens.
her out there though?
Oh,
The
wait.
Negro. Who sent her
No,
out
no,
there?
no, 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 no. We're not gonna
Who
do
No,
my
told
baby
she
daddy
didn't
her?
like
want to.
that. He did not
Who
send
No,
her
told her
out
don't
there.
do it?
She
And he
volunteered. She
said, okay.
volunteered.
she
Let
thought
wait.
she was a pretty white girl. She thought
Be-
her whiteness and her prettiness would
He
protect
co-signed her going out there to see if they had some money.
Hold on. No, Stack did not send her out there. Let's be
He
quite
did
clear
not.
because
He did
He
not.
I'm a
co-signed her
hold it for
going out
Stack.
there though.
Let's be clear. Stack told her to get the hell from around him multiple times. She should
Yeah,
have
I
Several
don't
been
even
there
know
in
why she was
person.
there because I'd have been
From
too
the
busy.
train
she
But
invited
station to the
herself
beginning.
I'd have
every
been like,
time.
what?
That is where, and let's be clear. Let's go with historical accuracy. Mary was an octoroon.
Yes, she
Octoroon meant
was.
she was an eighth Black.
Yes, she
Let's
was.
be quite clear though, because she presented white. A lot of the things that happened with her also proved that if you have that much white in you, you're going to show up as a Karen anytime you please.
At some point.
Why are you here? He asked you to get the fuck on multiple times.
Multiple
What are you
times.
doing, ma'am?
Not
In
just
her
that,
defense,
Sammy told her
his
to go home. Sammy
no,
was like,
in her
you should go
defense,
home.
y'all, she told us why she was there. He
Yep,
had
her
his
mama.
tongue in her coos so deep
Yeah, it is.
and stroked her so hard she thought she could come. See, don't do my girl.
And she said,
Listen,
I'm grown now. She said, I was not grown then. I'm grown now. Let's try it again.
she was
Is
willing to
this not
chase
the
that man
plight
to
that
the
we
end
have
of the
all
damn earth.
experienced from
But
black
you
men?
know what I will say, I saw Haley and Wumi in an interview talking about, and now when I go back, because I will be going back to see it again this week, now for the third time. Now when I go back, I will have this perspective of her internals as playing Mary, and like the scene. I don't know if y'all remember the scene where after all the vampires came into the barn, and Annie got
Yep.
bit, and Stack uh, Smoke did what he promised to do, which was to release her and not let her turn into one of those things.
Mary was
And
hurt.
when he did that,
Mhm.
Mary screamed, and I was like, I didn't make the connection. But then I saw this interview with her, actually just yesterday, where she was talking about for her the way she internalized Mary so that she could play Mary is that Mary had lived in this space of limbo for so long where the Black community was her community because her mama was not white enough to pass. So her mother had to live in the Black community, which means she grew up in the Black community, which means that was her community. But then when she got of age, that was like, life will be easier for you if you pass. And he encouraged her to pass so that her life would be easier. But she never felt at home in the white world.
Because she was
And
still a
Haley
nigger.
was saying for her, the freedom of vampirism was a way for her, all of her family, all of the people that she loved, the community, to be together forever. So when Annie got turned and then Stack released her, the scream was because the whole reason she was happy that this thing that
I
had
don't think that.
come that could have been the way for them to be together forever, they still weren't because Annie was taken
I'm
away
gonna
from
push
them.
back on this right here because I know Haley said what she said in the interview, but that is because if you notice, she wasn't the only vampire who flipped out when he unalived.
No, it
True,
was the
true. But
secret.
I'm just saying
That
for
did
her
too. That did
motivation.
too.
No.
That
Yeah.
did too, but if you notice in that scene, as soon as Smoke sticks that stake in Annie's heart, all of the vampires run out. They all
wanted
ran.
her knowledge.
Now a lot of people looked at
Yes,
it like
that's true. They definitely wanted her knowledge.
Annie told Smoke to release her so that she wouldn't be stuck there and would be able to be with their baby in the ancestral realm,
Yeah.
right? It was unspoken the other reason Annie did that. Annie knew, as strong of a root worker as I am, if you don't unalive me and they get my
Right, they're
power,
gonna have
it's
access.
It's
gonna be a
over.
problem.
Right.
It's over.
She knew. Okay, hold on.
And that's how I took it too. That's why Haley was screaming like that,
Well,
her
see,
character,
that's
Mary,
No,
how I initially
oh,
because
took it.
like, oh no, not the secrets. Oh no, not the
Right.
sauce. Like
but
That's how I
not
initially took
just
it.
you
And
that.
I
needed her.
believe that. But
Well, no,
also, I just liked the fact that there was this there was that Haley as an actress internalized
Analyzed it.
the feeling of what it was to be a white passing black person in a one drop America,
Well, y'all
and
know
that
that
well,
reality.
she got black in her too. Her mama's
She
Filipino
get her
Yeah,
as well.
ancestry after
she's
this
also
movie.
So
actually an ace herself.
yeah,
Yeah.
She's an H
exactly.
black
That's
as
why
Right.
I was
well. Her grandfather's half Filipino, half black. So
Yep.
like her
Mhm.
real life actually mimics her character
And
Uh-huh.
she
Exactly.
didn't learn of it until this
until
movie.
this
Right.
She
She
movie.
didn't learn until she
gave
did this
her
role.
own lineage. She
Girl,
didn't
Yeah.
I
know.
seen
so
her at the game and said that girl ain't white. That girl is not white. When I seen
so
her, I said that girl ain't white. So if she
so to
didn't know,
me,
good for you. I'm glad she's remembering now.
so to me, the screaming of Annie's unalivement is an onion, because what I realized in this particular, because vampire movies, they change the rules according to the creator.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So in this film, what I appreciated was it was 5 layers to the emotional connection between all the vampires.
Mhm.
The first layer, and this is an opinion, but maybe y'all will see where I'm coming from. The first layer is, since they can no longer return to the ancestral realms, they are spiritually connected because they have to function as living ancestors for each other now.
Hmm.
They cannot reach their own individual lines, so the new lineage is forged in this dark curse amongst them,
Mm. Mm.
right? So
Mhm.
now your humanity is gone and your bloodline is gone, so your new spiritual existence is this curse and everybody under it.
Mhm.
This is why when Remick does his alternative performance to Sammie, everybody's in tandem. These are black people doing Irish dances in tandem.
Hmm. Hmm.
How? Y'all ain't this. And we know y'all ain't this because y'all ancestors was just in the building. And y'all can't
He
reach
is
them
them. He's their
anymore.
creator.
So now you're this. I felt like that was also a metaphor for black people like big
Assimilation.
upping a Justin Timberlake, a Robin
Hmm.
Thicke, right? But we're gonna come back to that because I don't want to go too far. No, ask you other questions. So
Oh,
that's one layer. They have now replaced each other as spiritual beings and ancestry with each other,
yes.
all under the curse of being vampiric. The
I
second thing is um, they all get to retain their soul. They all have it. The original vampire lore says the soul is damned and it's predetermined to hell. That's not what this one says. This
Mm.
one is telling you if you are staked, you are released. So they all still have their actual soul. It is
Mm.
just now intermingled with the tainted demonic soul of their maker.
it's bound.
Mm.
It's bound to it until you release.
So
It's
Hmm.
bound.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the second string. The third string is the real dark places of who you actually are comes up. Right. And then now, after the
The
soul is
shadows.
connected in 3 different ways, you now are telepathic with each other because the soul dwells in the mind. This is
Right.
why they could, the first thing they knew about each other was each other's memories. Notice it wasn't what they are currently thinking, and it wasn't the future. It was
Nope.
only living memory.
Hmm.
Mm. Mm.
I
Mm.
peeped that twice. They could see each other's living memories, nothing beyond because they're dead.
Right.
Right.
But ghosts don't have futures.
A present
Even
or
though
a
this
future.
body's still walking around, your spirit is not continuing to record it because technically the camera's off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
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 So now when we go into to me the fourth layer of them still being who they are, I'm going to piggyback off Kenyatta when they explain Mary was really hurt because her and Stack did not want to unalive um,
And
Smoke and Annie.
mhm.
They wanted them to join them. They did
They
because
wanted
first
the
of all,
family.
They want
I keep telling people Mary is little Kim trapped in Marilyn Monroe's body. She
Mm.
wanted to prove to Stack that she was a hood bitch that could hang, and she wanted to be with her gangster boo, and she was ready to do hood rat shit with her hood rat friends. That's really who she was. She kept saying, I can fight these bitches. I can keep up with you. Let me come, please. Let me come. You done left me with Bob Dole last. I want to go with you. This sucks. Like, that's what she's saying the whole movie. It's like she's Charlie Baltimore trapping Ava Gardner. And she could not stress that I know you understand that the best opportunity for me to have a safe life is passing. But I don't want safe. I want you.
Right.
That's what she was really stressing. So the fifth layer of all of that was, I don't know what it's like to live life without the protection of Black folk. And for Stack,
Mm,
I don't know how to live life without the protection of Smoke.
of my brother.
So
Yep.
Boom.
if y'all want to unalive, or if y'all don't want to do this, where does that leave us? Hence why Stack said, I love this immortal shit, but I ain't gonna do it without you. It
Yep.
was
Listen,
almost like a threat.
interesting point there too. And I
Well,
want to go back to a couple of points. One, Mary turning her back. Do y'all remember when Smoke and Stack were when they was gonna separate, and one was going to town and he was gonna have a truck with all the liquor and stuff on it? And he said, "What?" He told Sammie, "Watch his back. He don't know how to watch his own back."
Yep.
Once Mary said, "You taught me how to fight and protect myself." If he don't know how to watch his own back, I didn't expect her to be smart enough to not turn her back on them vampires. She thought she was
Mm,
safe, but she also felt emboldened enough to turn her back, which is how she got.
But she
But
embraced her whiteness.
she did.
and
And,
this is
I
that's
not
my
the gun
honestly,
argument.
that
I
her
wrote a whole
man
post
gave
about it.
her.
but
I
here's the
honestly
other
think
thing.
it would have been I'm so sorry, Ash. I think it would have been a different plot point if she would have stayed facing them and walking backwards, because I think she would have fired on them and everybody would have came out. I think it would
Everybody
have
would have came out.
definitely been a different plot point for them to
Yes.
Yep.
go that way instead of her
Her turning
just
her
doing
back.
what she did.
Yes.
Her and Bo, because you see Bo got bit in the back on the side. Like,
Hold
okay.
on. We're gonna get to Bo in a minute because I gotta get to the Asian aspect of this too. But another interesting thing is at the train station. At the train station, when Stack tells Mary to pretty much get the hell on, get the hell on, and she says, "Go to
He
hell," and he
cursed
said,
him.
"I'm gonna save a room for
A
you.
seat
We'll
right
be
next
there
to
together."
Be careful
They
what you say.
absolutely ended up together. They did.
And that's what I said. Be careful what you say. I said he preempted that. And he was like, so here's the thing, like the whole time everybody's thinking like he didn't give a damn about her and so on and so forth. And then when she was like, go to hell, and he was like, well, I'm going, he's like, but you're going to be right there beside me. You understand what I'm saying? So even in death, he was like, I can't stand you, right? I don't want to be with
Mhm.
you right now because I can't be with you, right? But I still want to die and lay next to you. So it's just like this toxic thing that we see in the Black community, anyways, you know, off Highland or off any of these hood streets that, you know, it doesn't change. My great grandmother used to say, just the date changes, the things don't change. They
Mhm.
don't change. And so he preempted that. That's why I tell people, be careful what you say. So when people say like, oh, I would love you to the ends of the earth. Really? I don't want that. I want you to love me to life. I don't want you to love me to death. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell me that. I want you to love me to life. I don't want you to love me to death. I don't
Mhm.
want you to tell me that. Don't ever say that. You understand what I'm saying? Because once you put that out in the universe, and that's exactly what happened. And I'm glad that you caught that, because I said, oh, he done cursed them already, because that's how powerful they are. They were two baby Oguns. That's what they were. They're
Yeah.
protectors. They were gods of war. That's what they are. We're all
Yep.
just walking embodiments of different Orishas at any given date, any given time. We just walking each other home. That's all.
Hold on. Let me see something. It's a comment I meant to highlight. Hold on. Wait. It was one that agreed with something Red said before, but I want to make sure I highlighted it. When he stabbed that snake. Now, only reason I want to go back to this is because I want to highlight something in that part too. I found it so interesting that as soon as they uncovered the snake, this just spoke to how Smoke was always the protector, even if Stack could do something, he still deferred to Smoke. Stack had the knife. He threw it to Smoke to kill the snake. Like, you could
Hmm.
have killed the snake, Stack. You had the knife. You were at the same distance, just on the other side. But he threw it to Smoke to protect all of them. And then I noticed that the snake started burning on the ground too. Usually, you do kill a snake at the head, but you also cut off the
cut it
cut
off.
And he didn't
Yep.
do that. But it was smoke and blood. So that really does point to Red being correct in that theory about
Mhm.
Remick possibly shape shifted into that
Mhm.
snake. That actually makes
Yeah,
it make more sense.
absolutely.
Now, I wanna go into something now that is seemingly the part that everybody, the person, the character, because we're supposed to do character. I think we've been mixing theme and character development pretty well. The Asian couple, the Chows, Grace and Bo. Folks
I
out
love
here
me
mad
some
as
Bo.
hell with Grace. Folks out
I
here
like
are
I
both
love
mad
too.
me
as
some
hell
Bo.
with
I like
Grace.
both too.
I like Bo and Grace, and let me just start from the beginning
Yep.
with them. 'Cause I noticed something, and I felt like everybody noticed it, but clearly the people I talked to didn't notice it. When you first meet them, when Smoke is in town, y'all did notice that it was two different sides of that street, and she was
Yes.
at the
Yeah.
white
Yeah,
store,
He
and
was at
he
the
was
white
at
store. He was at the black store.
Y'all
Yeah.
know
yeah,
why,
right.
right?
Because I was like, I know I'm not the only one who noticed that. Like
Y'all
they
know
serve in two
why.
different parts of the
And
community.
they operated
Mhm.
and they operated just like that in the space. You know who worked in the black store and knew who worked in the white store just by the way
Exactly.
that they handled that situation when the vampire showed up.
Exactly. And I feel like their daughter, granted, she does not have many words that she says, and she's not on the screen that much, but the time she is, I feel like she had some strong instincts or strong discernment to know some stuff gonna go left. Because if you looked at her face when they were getting ready to pull
Mm,
off,
Yep.
her face to me just said so much without her character saying anything. It was
yeah.
like
Mhm.
something ain't right and my something gonna go wrong. But the Chows present the Asian side of things. Now, if people look into the history, because a lot of people did who don't know that history did question why are Chinese people here? They have a
Because
very
they
They've
were
been
They've
they've
there.
here.
been
been
there
here.
for years.
Yeah.
They've been there
They
since
were
that
And
time.
there.
Texas too.
they have a
Texas,
very deep
Louisiana,
history in
all of them.
Mississippi, Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana, baby. Them
Yep.
Yep.
Vietnamese people in Louisiana up in there, and they sound like
Boom.
New Orleans people.
Yep.
Yep.
They talk like they've been there for a very long time. So
They got
what's
ass too.
interesting, yep. What's interesting to me though is that a lot of times different factions of the Asian community, Asian people, for as much as we are intermingled and we embrace them, they never fully embrace us. They play more of a neutral side.
Mhm.
They will embrace our culture. They will love our culture. But if stuff go left, they are not going to pick to help save us. They are going to
But
protect themselves.
but I feel like Bo would have.
Bo would
Bo
have.
I
Oh
think
yeah.
that Bo did embrace the black community as like extension of his community. I think he found himself there. Grace never did, and that's probably because she was, working with the white people all the daggone time.
Mhm.
But the fact of the matter, it was even when the rubber hits the road, Bo was ready to stand with them, and it was her who was like, "This ain't
And
our fight.
We didn't
Go
come for
get the
this.
car. We
This
got
that
is
to
not
go."
our fight.
And that's the part for me. That's the part for me. Everybody got mad at Grace because she called in the vampires. She invited them. I was already mad at Grace. I
Yep.
understood why she called the vampires in when she did. I was already
Right.
mad at Grace for sending her husband out into the doggone darkness. I
Boom.
Right.
was like, if you hadn't have been so ready to go and ready to walk away from these, you was ready to party with them. You was ready to paint the sign and help them party and have fun.
And
But
ready to make money off of them,
you
but
was
you
ready to
weren't
make
ready to
money.
stand in
But when it was
solidarity.
time to
She was
stand up,
helping sell that liquor.
But
right?
hold
She was
on,
selling that liquor.
y'all.
I
We're
got
not
mad
gonna
at
do
Grace there.
Grace like that.
Why not?
Because that's not what had happened, if my
That
memory
is what
serves
That's
happened.
me.
what
This what
happened.
happened.
No, what had happened was Grace did not think she was sending him out into the darkness or danger. She
No,
sent Bo out at the same time the big group of black people also were leaving. So she assumed safety. Nobody in there had any idea of
Mhm.
knowing that each and every last person at that juke joint was going to be infected.
Here's what.
She
Let me
didn't
let me
think that was
interject
going to
real
I
quick.
happen to her
Let
I
me
I have
man.
to
interject.
push back
I'm
because
pushing back on that. I wonder if
yeah.
we're thinking
Go
the same
go ahead,
thing,
Ashley.
Kiara.
I was gonna say
I'm
I have to
pushing back
push.
because
Go ahead.
here's what got me, and maybe it's because we are watching it versus being in it. The the reason they said party over, everybody go home was once they found Stack and Mary eating his neck, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Smoke shot Mary 75 times and she ran up out of there like she hadn't been shot. You let me see somebody with bullets run out a door. I'm
She
not going where
didn't
they go.
see that.
I'm not going where they get. Enough of them saw it.
No, Grace and Bo didn't see that.
Grace and
They
Bo
don't.
didn't
When
see
they
that.
see the next time they see it, they see Stack. And that's when she was like, oh, hell no. We helped her. Listen, maybe I'm a little bit of a Miko from Pocahontas, my damn self. Because if I came to cook catfish and make a motherfucking sign, and next thing I know, your brother in there unalive, bitches out here giving out pussy and cutting and chewing on people and shit, me and my man are leaving. The fuck I look like? I'm out of there. Scram. I'm running through the wall like a Scooby-Doo episode. Fuck is y'all talking about? Grace was like, it's time to go home to our motherfucking baby. I don't know what the hell done broke out up in here. Everything was cool at first. I think my great grandma even came. But it's time to get the fuck out of here. Grace was gracing. The only fucked up thing she did to me was invite them vampires in.
Which
To
I
to
more
me,
so
that
understood
was
that.
with Ash, and that was, by that point I was already irritated with her. Like,
Yes.
I became incensed when she invited them in, but I was already irritated with her because, like I said, like Ashley said, she may not have known all the details, but she had seen enough to know that
To get the fuck out
staying,
of there, can y'all
no,
stop
staying
playing?
inside was
Grace has
safer
seen
than going
enough to want to go
outside.
home.
No, but like, listen, Annie was, yeah, Annie was already telling her, like, and Annie was when Annie spoke and she said certain things were happening, right? So
Right.
Annie had already said, "Hey, these are vampires. We just got to make it to the
You
morning,
need to just
okay?
stay in here
I
until
That
We
was
don't
gonna
morning.
stay
after
on
we
the
left.
know.
inside."
That was
Andy
No,
didn't
after
she
know.
we
don't
left.
say
Andy
that
didn't know
till
they was
later.
vampires yet. She just knew that she
Yeah.
saw
Left.
Mary run
Oh,
out the room,
you're right, because
and
it
so
was
she
before
said,
Stack.
but it was too late because Delta and Pearline had already sent everybody home, and that's when Grace was like, "Bo, go get the car." But that when Annie came out, she was like, "Don't send nobody outside because we dealing with Hanks." Even though they weren't dealing with Hanks, they were dealing with vampires. They didn't know until Stack woke up
That
and
they're
threw
Thank
that
you,
vampires.
garlic
friend.
in his face that they
Yeah.
were vampires. But
Yeah.
by then it was too late because
It was
everybody
too late.
that was out. Everybody that was in. And like Bo was already out there getting chewed up, and Cornbread went out 15 miles to go pee and got ate up.
That's what pissed me off too.
But
Somehow
y'all,
How
started mad
listen.
with
you go
Pete.
all the way out to the woods to fucking pee?
Why did
Excuse
you
my
go?
language.
Sir, the
No,
side of the
before we
building was
leave,
right there. Why didn't you pee on the side of the building? Because why are you going 50 miles to pee? What is actually going on?
wait, before we get off the topic of Grace, I'ma stand on business and ride for Grace. Grace actually made motherfucking sense, okay?
Yep.
I'ma tell you whose fault it really is. It's theirs. They should have let Grace take her ass outside.
I was about
I
to
Okay,
would
say that
have
because I
let
would have
okay,
pushed
Grace
Grace right
go.
out the door.
There it
okay.
is. You can
You
go.
know what?
Go
I
leave
would
the
have
front door for
hugged
them.
her and I would have said, baby, you right. If you think you can fight them to get the Lisa, you go right on ahead. And I would have opened the door for her motherfucking ass.
Yeah, you
I
right.
don't blame
That
Grace.
is
I
valid.
blame
That is
them.
valid. That
You're
is
right.
valid.
I blame them.
You
They should have
correct.
let Grace take her ass on. I would have gotten a prayer circle with Grace and said, Grace, thank you so much. We love you. They told us you get to keep memory. So keep this one with you, baby. Thank you for the catfish. Your shit was popping. The sign was good. I appreciate you, baby. Go ahead, take your ass on
Wait,
out there.
can we transition, please? Because now I got to talk more about Cornbread because you just Cornbread's character. First of all, I agree, Sissy. His ass deserved to get ate up because why did you walk to Mulberry to pee? He walked back to town to pee, and I just didn't
Right.
understand.
What the hell?
Where are you going, sir? But here's the Cornbread character is so very interesting, and I saw somebody say this,
From
and
Negro.
it pissed me off a little bit, but then I was like, it's not the worst take. He was like, it's funny how other than Annie, every woman in that film caused a problem other than Annie. They was like, because Cornbread wouldn't have been there, period, had his wife not been excited about that damn money.
She
She
was
was,
pregnant though. She was
I'm
with
saying
child,
now,
and she know that they needed that money.
they
Sis
did.
was pregnant. They working on consignment because they ain't getting paid no real money. They getting them damn credits from the
Whooping
plantation.
coins.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So she was like, wait a minute, he gonna get some cash? Go get that cash. I don't blame her. That was just a practical decision making
Hold on.
right there.
Also, it's only one woman who fought this whole movie is, and that's Pick Poor Robin Clean's ass. What was her name? That's the only woman who actually was a fuck up in this movie, in my
Yep.
opinion.
Because if she'd left him out in the sun, he'd have burnt up.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Listen, but
If she would have
corporate,
let those Catchall in to get them, then it would
yeah.
have been over with, because they would have said, "Ma'am, you come outside, you wait with such and such on the truck," and the people that need to go up in there would have went up in there and handled their business, because Bert was already up in there. He was already Swiss cheese back there, and the baby
But
that was in the crib, we don't even know what happened to the baby
We
in
don't
the
know what
crib,
happened
but
to all we saw was a crib.
it
yeah.
might
Mm-hmm.
not have been a baby. I was talking about that with somebody. She might have been trying to get pregnant, or they
Mm-hmm.
lost the baby or something like that, because it
Yeah.
might not have been a baby, because everybody was like, did they eat the baby? We're not sure. We're not sure if it was a baby. But I will say that character, that white woman, what messed her up and what continues to mess white women up even now is they choose whiteness over womanhood, and they
Yep.
choose whiteness
Boom.
over being true allies. Because had
Yep.
she said, you know what, these native people might know what they're talking about, let me go ahead and listen for once, like they should have listened to black women. We're not gonna go there, but they
But
didn't. She
but
chose
But
as
like I
whiteness.
said in my post, actually, she was never going to do it because there is a presumed innocence in whiteness. And when that white man, even with his skin all burnt up, showed up to their door and said he was being chased by natives and calling them slurs, calling them dirty, she was like, "Oh, clearly he's the victim, not these native people. Clearly, this white man is
but I
the
want to
victim
throw
because
something
there's a
else
presumed
in.
innocence of whiteness that white people always have for each other. Always.
No,
Always.
no, I want to throw something else in, y'all. Follow me. His whiteness actually was the secondary factor that got him into the house, because he
Hate was the
mis-
first.
he no, watch this. He got caught slipping, and he had his Irish accent at first.
He did.
That's why they
Yep.
never took the guns off him. They ain't fuck with him. What got him into the house was that gold.
The gold.
Yeah.
That
The
Yes.
was a
money.
commentary on
Yep.
classism. They was
Mm.
willing to let his ass get got
Absolutely.
outside until he pulled the gold out his pocket. So
Because
actually,
But
they
that's
were bigots. It was not his whiteness that saved him. It was his money.
but I
That's
think
right.
that is the I think that is the coming together of both those things. White supremacy at the core of the progression and functioning of white supremacy, especially in this country,
It's
is
money.
is capitalism, is the desire for profit. I
We gonna
believe that
talk
it was
about
a
that conversation
twofold
that was
thing
had in that juice
coming
joint,
together.
yep.
where Stack went and told, when Smoke went and told Stack we can't accept them wooden nickels, and
Yes.
he said what the numbers looking like, and I thought this was perfect because I'm a multiple business owner. And he said, listen, because what a lot of people don't understand, when you own a business, especially when you're trying to cater to black people, you don't know what your demographic is. All money, what's the girl named Emil? All money is legal, right? So he goes in there and he tells them, he said, this is the plantation money, and this is the money that was brought outside of that. And what did he tell him? He said, we ain't gonna make it.
3 months.
This
We
is the
will
money
be
that
out
we
of business.
this is the money. So we did all of this to come here and cater to these people, and they don't have it. And the two wooden nickels, that is the synopsis of basically pennies. It's
Mhm.
basically pennies. It's like a penny a piece. So I get, and that as a business owner really stuck with me, because I'm like, you want to do things for your people, you do, but you're not gonna come in here and tell me you only got, it's Dunkin' Donuts across the street and you can get a donut for 99 cents, but my beignets for 3 and they're fresh and I put my labor into it are this amount of money, because my demographic is likely not going to be my community. It's going to be the tourists. And so
Mhm.
unfortunately, we open these businesses with all these things in mind. And now while we in a recession and all this other stuff, businesses are closing because people could look at the turkey leg hut. Okay, that was poor management just all the way around. But at the same time, you have to look at the numbers. I mean, who are we catering to with these businesses? They just came here, they had an idea. People don't understand, when you own a business, it's not just about an idea, it's about execution, and it's about making sure, can we stay open? Can we tote the line? Can we go 10 years, 20 years down the line? And that's where I think the disappointment came in. So that portion of the movie also stuck out to me, because on one hand, yeah, you want to look out for your people, but on the other hand, I have to make money or else we can't even stay in business.
And that spoke to something Delta Slim said when Stack went to find him at that train station. Delta Slim, when he
Yes.
asked him, when he said, I give
Yeah,
you
that hurt
$20
me.
to work tonight, he
That hurt
said,
me.
every Saturday I work at this other bar that's gonna be here 10 years down the road. Are y'all
Yep.
gonna be here tomorrow? Because they gonna be here. And it does speak to that, but I also got Annie's point. Opening night, you want it to be for us, by us. You want your
Hmm.
people to feel welcome. They can't help that this is how they're being paid by
Right.
racist people. They can't help that. So in order to make them feel at home just for one night, do this.
Absolutely.
Do this to make them feel at home. But
Absolutely.
ultimately, capitalism, this movie called out the fact that that need
Yep.
for money and that, all that, you want that so bad that you actually willing to destroy to get it. Because like you said, when Remick came to those people's door, that Irish accent almost got him messed up. It
Gave
was
it to
like,
Mary
oh,
too. He gave her some
right,
coins and she went back in there with him.
exactly. But that Irish accent almost got him messed up because people know the history, but I don't know how much they know. Like Irish people were hated. It was
Oh
signs that
yeah.
said no dogs, no Irish, no blacks. Irish people were at that time the black people of white people.
The niggas, yeah.
Whiteness as a concept only came to be so that white could have more numbers because they knew if we keep
Mhm.
differentiating based off of culture and
Gangs
ethnicity,
of New
they're
York.
gonna kill them.
Beautiful
They're gonna take
depiction of
over.
that.
I
Huh?
also would like to add that, and the movie didn't say this, but once again, it's my imagination going crazy. Um, they purchased cursed land.
Hmm. Didn't bless the house. I
They
didn't bless it.
purchased
I
a
said,
land where how we don't know how many black people had been slaughtered and their bones discarded.
I'm
right.
gonna get
And
there.
That's why I
it was
said
a
it
very
wasn't
long time.
estimated.
So I
Valid.
feel like it wasn't just Sammy's voice, it was the death calling them
Hmm.
there. And not only when Sammy performed, this is the thing, Sammy was so innocent and so pure in his gift that his voice purposely was powerful enough to seek out the good. But as we learn later, the bad was attracted to it too because it wanted to, eat it or absorb it, like vampirism does. And I
Mhm.
think if they really wanted to lean more into the horror film genre instead of a spiritual film, because this film was a spiritual film, if they really wanted it to be a horror film, I would have made the black zombies, the murdered black folk of the clan, show up
Yeah, they
and
could have went
fight
that
off
route.
those
He might.
vampires.
He might.
Now that would have
He
oh yeah,
might.
that would have been great.
He
That would
But
have
might
been
be
that's
great.
he
also
might
But
be
who he
smart.
targeted.
they didn't know that the land was cursed like when they bought it.
They
They
didn't
didn't
know
know.
the
Remember he
No, they
asked
spirits
were
was
about
at
the
the
dumb.
party.
floorboards?
Pause. No, I'm pushing back on that. Pause. They were idiots. Smoke and
Floorboards.
Stack absolutely knew something happened there because when they
Floorboards.
purchased it, he reached down on that floor and said, "Y'all watch these floors. What was
Yep.
on them?" The second I would
Blood.
have had to question what was on
Blood.
them, I would have had Annie in there pouring holy water over everything and
That's
praying
Boom.
over
true.
the whole building.
But
Boom.
Smoke only slightly believed in Annie's power. Like he did not
I don't
believe it,
believe
but
that. He believes.
he like he questioned. I guess that's what I should say. Like when he asked her, why didn't your protection protect our baby? Like why is our baby there? Like so he had doubts. So I don't think he would have even if he thought like I think there's a part of him that he even said it. He's like the only power is money. Like
Yeah,
for him, the only
And
power
that's
that
the mind.
really mattered was money.
yeah.
And
But
that's the
I
mind.
disagree. I disagree. When he would say shit like that, that was the grief and the pain talking. Internally, he believed.
He believed
There it
Annie
is.
internally.
He believed 100%. And the reason why I know he really was a believer
You wore
is
that history.
because, first of all, he's always wearing the fucking blue.
Yeah,
Yep.
His signature color is the spiritual protection Hank blue.
yeah.
This
And he
motherfucker
wears
wore it
his
all the
mojo
time.
bag. So
And he wore that
Two,
mojo
he
bag. He
never
never
took
took
his
it off
mojo bag off. Never,
until the
ever,
end.
ever,
Yep.
ever, ever.
Sacred.
And right. And when I saw him take it off, I said,
He ready to
Pardon
die.
me,
He
y'all.
about to
I
go.
You better,
He about
said
to
that's what we
go.
all
when I
thought.
catch
We were like,
Ryan
oh,
Coogler in the street, he got some splaining to do. Cause I know you ain't let this motherfucker survive the vampires just to get off by these you know what.
He
no,
was
But
ready
you
to
know,
go.
but I saw how it went down and I accepted
he
it
was
better.
ready to go.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say, I think Smoke went through the journey a lot of spiritually gifted people go through, which is very up and down.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was a
Mhm,
believer. That's how he met Annie in the first place. And
mhm.
then losing that baby made him dip down out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then going through everything he ever went through in life made him come back up into it. And then going home and going through all that shit made him dip. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the
Absolutely.
spiritual walk is not a consistent faith
It
step.
definitely isn't.
It's not.
People try to act like because you're a believer, you always have faith. Faith and belief are two different things.
Yep.
Absolutely.
People try to use them interchangeably, but they're not. And I think his belief was always there. His faith in it to protect him and his family was not.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And it
I'll take
again
that.
to the duality of it. The duality. Smoke and stack to me also represent light and dark, shadow work. You got to know how to tap into your shadow to understand that darker part of you. And
Right.
I don't think a lot of Annie understood that, but I don't think everybody understood that. So yes, who was saying something? I think Kenyatta was saying something. He was the death of their yeah, I think he believed, but them losing that baby did alter it. And I think when he said that, why didn't that save our baby? I think that really spoke to the fact that there is nothing that can stop what is willed to happen from happening. People
Absolutely.
expect faith to just save everything. Like if I have faith, if I believe, then why do these bad things happen? No faith on earth is gonna stop what's supposed to happen from happening. I
But
don't
Right.
but you know what I said, Ash? I felt like the spirit world always knew Annie and Smoke were meant to unalive, so they did not make a baby live to not
To
have
live
their
without them.
parents.
Yeah.
Right.
yep.
That's the I said, okay, their destiny is to go out protecting Sammie.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just because your destiny is one thing does not mean your current life can't have spiritual things take place. And I
Right.
think their love for each other and their spiritual binding, along with their physical connection, because she whispers in his ear and says, "Your body hasn't forgotten me."
That was my
No-
In
favorite. That was
7
one of my
years.
everything
favorite parts.
about them was
Baby.
in tandem.
In
So,
seven
when you
years.
have a man and a woman that is that connected, they will create life whether they want to or not. And
Yep.
I think that a life got made, but the spirit world corrected it and said, we can't let that baby go into full fruition because they're not going to live long enough to raise it.
To
And
raise her.
and in
Yeah.
my mind, that child would have been a spiritual marvel to reckon with if it came from the bloodline of Sammie and their musical ability and the hoodoo priest line of Anna
Of
making a
Annie.
new person.
Yep.
I don't
Right.
even think that type of person was meant to exist.
Yep.
The world wasn't
Can
ready.
we make note and highlight that Annie was definitely from Louisiana? Annie was
Absolutely.
from Louisiana. I want everybody to be clear on that. She
Yeah.
moved to
Absolutely.
Mississippi at some point, but she was absolutely from Louisiana. Because they said you gonna I think Cornbread was the one who said
That Louisiana girl, he's like,
Louisiana,
she got with that
Louisiana roots,
voodoo
something like
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
I said, I knew she was from Louisiana. I knew it.
But I was disappointed that she wasn't from Mississippi because I want the world to start to understand that indigenous black folk from right here have those abilities too.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We
The
not
Mississippi
always from here,
Delaware.
there,
Yeah,
everywhere.
that's
We are
true.
born. I have been born in Virginia. Virginia is where my maternal
Me
line is
too.
buried
Never
and where
been
I
back
live
there
to
where I was
this
born.
day. And I've had these gifts my whole life. I'm not mixed with no Creole. I ain't got no Caribbean great grand roach somewhere. I am a black girl from right here, and I can do those things. And it was passed through my blood of black women from right here. So
That
Mhm.
is
I really
absolutely.
wished they would have
Would have been.
let her be from the Delta.
Yeah.
Because them people down there in that Delta Bayou,
Same
they
thing.
doing all that
They
stuff
doing it
too.
too. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Because
Like,
who do y'all think was shopping at her shop? There won't New
exactly.
Orleans people coming to buy that shit.
Nope.
Right. It was
Right.
people from right there. That's true. That's true. And speaking of that too, can we? like I said, Ryan's always intentional. Can we just take a nod to the fact that Annie and Pearline were two dark-skinned black women,
Beautiful.
one big,
Gorgeous
bigger
black
body,
woman.
and they were the
How
love
come nobody's
interest.
favorite part was when he turned her around? I mean, y'all didn't
Baby, because
like how
listen,
did that. Why was that nobody's favorite part? Because that was my
you know
I ain't
favorite
what?
like
part of the
that.
scene.
I did hear a valid
When she put
critique
her
about
hand
that,
on that
dude. I
chest
did.
I ain't like
I,
that.
and she calmed down that man and
I did hear valid critique on that part, and it was this. The fact that
he
he
couldn't look her
turned
in the
her
face.
around
He
was
couldn't look her in
less
the face.
romantic and loving. Had he faced her, had he kept her facing him, it would have been more loving. Why did he have to turn her around and be in that position to then make love to her?
But I
That to
think
me
that
that was valid.
speaks to Smoke. Like I didn't have a problem with that because I think to me that spoke to not that he didn't love her, but Smoke's already
Character. His
deep
character.
seated
He can't
wounds. Like
be intimate in
he
that
has
way.
demons that he is reckoning with, and it had nothing to do with
Black
his
men
love
in
for
grief.
Annie. It was about the he has PTSD from being in World War I. He been up in Chicago
Black
with
men
gangsters.
in
Like he got
grief.
all this other stuff
True,
that But I can
true.
see why
So
people would say that. But I mean, to me, it
I
just
get,
that's
I
how it
yeah,
read to me.
I get both sides. I want to
having
connect with you, but I'm also very much
having
disconnected and dealing with a lot.
Yeah,
right, having been with somebody that is so our men don't show grief the same way as other men show grief, and especially somebody that was in a war, and especially somebody that asks, I know. So at the end of the day, there's a book out, and it's called Black Men Don't Heal, They Hope. I think it's Stephen James Dixon wrote it. And
They
I
don't
love Stephen.
feel
He's
they
from
hope.
Texas. Black men don't heal, they hoe. And
Listen, let
so
me
a
write this
lot of
down.
times, yeah, it's a very old book. And no, I am not the Denise in the book. That was his ex-wife name. It is not me, child. I was married to a man that don't even speak English. So at the end of the day, look, he should tell you I was married to somebody that don't even speak English. So black men have a very different right. Girl, it wasn't no quick date. To me, it was very beautiful because black men grieve differently than other men, okay?
Yeah,
And so therefore sometimes like when you're so strong and you're so strong and you going through something, he didn't want to face her because why is nobody talking about the fact my man left me for 7 years? We finna fight. That's why she pulled the knife on him. And he was like, girl, get this little blade out your face. I thought it was a beautiful moment too. And so when he turns her around, it's not that it's not romantic. He not trying to be romantic. He trying to get that thing. He trying to understand, do I still got a home, girl, right? Do
he
I
said he
still
don't.
have a home here? Do I still have a home in this pussy? Do I still have, is this still mine? You
And it
understand
is.
what I'm saying? And then he left after the baby died. So there is grief all around his home. And we poor as hell. So I didn't even put you up in a better situation. And black men love to provide when they care about you. I promise you they do.
yeah, they
Okay.
do.
So
They do.
he turned her around because that was the quickest, most easiest method. And he didn't want to face her because I think there was shame. I think there was guilt. I think there was like, I done left this woman and fend for
Facing her
herself and
would
look
have
how
been
she living.
vulnerability that he was not ready to deal with.
Right.
That's what I was
Exactly. And
saying.
so
That had less to do with
sometimes,
him to her, and it was him. If he looked her in the eye, he would have broken
oh,
down.
he's
He
done.
was
Yep.
not
He's done.
ready
And
to
then guess
break
what
down.
happens? Guess what happens to our black men protectors the moment they become vulnerable? Do you think that he would have been able to go out and kill 87,000 vampires that night? He wouldn't have. He wouldn't have. He sleep. He
I
sleep.
got
He done
leverage.
had a catfish sandwich. He sleep. He done laid up in her. He can't do it. They are knocked out. If you did your job correctly, that man is asleep. Okay. He had to get in, get out. I
Get out.
love you. And he told her, I love you. But black men grieve in the bottom of other women's coochies sometime. And that is a form of grief. And maybe it's not just black men. I don't know because I've never been with an alabaster. But what I'm saying to you is that was a very powerful moment for me because I've dated a smoke. I have been with a smoke. I am smoke. So at the end of the day, I know for me, sometimes it's just get in there and get them drawers off. I don't have time for this, but I'm sorry. And grief sometimes shows up as a proclivity. It's
Yeah.
not always crying for our
True.
men. And so
True.
when she like put her hand on the chest, like I felt that. Then when she put the hand on the groin, she letting them know that's still mine. And you gonna give it to me. And he turned around because he doesn't want to look at her because it's hurtful. Why you leave me for 7 years? And Negro, I don't even want to ask what you was doing up there in Chicago. I don't want to ask. So I'm gonna just turn you around because it's my favorite part of you. perhaps. And then we just gonna you gonna come to, and he asked her for a favor before that. She ain't want to do it. He was like, I'm finna come over here, I'm gonna drop these pellets off. And it was very much how black men function these days. You know, this is what they call us toxic. Because
Red, go
this
ahead,
is
because
what
you
we
had your
do.
hand up for a minute. I know
Okay,
you
this is
got
what we
something.
do. This ain't
Go
foreign
ahead,
to
Red.
us.
Go ahead, Red.
This is the unpopular opinion moment of my contribution. It was fuck shit. It was bullshit. And I'm going to call it every motherfucking time.
I like that.
Because the other twin, you let a mixed breed bitch spit in your mouth.
Cause that's what they
But
like.
your black woman, that's the mother of your dead child, get back shots in a dusty shot. Let me tell you something. This was not so
Oh,
much
that was two
about their
different twins.
story.
That was the other
I
brother.
let you cook. I let you cook. I
That
gotta
was
get in
the
the
other
kitchen on
brother.
this one. I gotta get in the kitchen on this one. I don't think it was a slight to the storytelling or the
Mm-mm.
characters. I think it was a slight to the tropes of Hollywood.
Mm.
Y'all let the other tragic heroes come home to women they've abandoned and make love to them. As an action film and horror film connoisseur, I know for a fact when long lost loves reunite, it sets the screen on fire. That love
That's
scene
true.
was short. That love scene was cold. That love scene was sad. And I'm tired of fat black women being pity pussy on screen. I'm sick of it. Every time I've seen a plus size black woman be a significant love interest, she's pity pussy. It's never love of my life. The only time I felt love of my life and she gets penetrated by him, it's the stake through her fucking heart. That love scene was garbage, trash, recyclable, horrible. Michael B. Jordan has never been seen on screen with a woman that looks like her. That was a moment in Black love cinema. And instead of it being, I'm gonna lift that ass up and throw it on your cash register and rip them big titties out and kiss all over you because it makes me sad to come here. But I come here because I need you, because I want you, and I'm about to lay you low and spread you wide. That is the scene the fat black girl deserved. And I'm not finna sit here and act like that shit was cute and understandable because it was not. Stack had abandoned the mixed girl longer. They had left the Delta for 7 years, but they had left her with their white man before that. And he laid down and submitted. Let her straddle him. Let her take charge.
She
Bite
killed
him.
him.
Choke him.
A
No,
praying
no.
mantis.
The murdering him is last. I'm talking about their
That
love
was not
scene.
sexy to me. I gotta
I
do all
didn't
the work.
say it
I
was
gotta be on
sexy. Hold
top.
on, I'm still cooking.
She
I
didn't
I
say
didn't
it
don't
was
say
do
it
that.
was
sexy.
sexy
I
as
do
far
that.
as my personal opinion. I said the Hollywood trope of what is sexy and passionate. They did that for them. They did not do that for them. I have seen Michael B. Jordan had that same sex scene with women that look like her over and over and over again. When I found out Michael B. the Jordan was going to have a love scene with a plus size, dark skinned woman of African descent, not a mixed one like in Creed, not the skinny one like in the other movies, not the white girl like in All My Children, but a big, black, powerful, demanding witch
Yeah.
that's been saving your life for 7 years, and what she get is a backshot reunion, and then you don't touch the pussy no more. She go downstairs and work in the kitchen. Y'all gotta be fucking playing with me. That is the one thing about that movie that pissed me off. You sent her black greasy ass down there to fry fish
She
sandwiches,
wasn't greasy.
and then you let the light skinned girl gallivant and
Tell
shake ass
everybody.
all night.
You know what? I have to.
Tell
You
I
know
have to
what? I
everybody.
agree.
can see your
Wait,
point.
I
And as a
I,
fat, as a dark skinned fat black woman who loves back shots, I didn't see the problem. That's
Oh
all
yeah, he
I'm
can fuck me like that too. That ain't the point. We talking about imagery.
and as a light skin who don't want to get on top. No.
No, no, see, y'all still think about
You
us getting a
were.
dick. Listen, I'ma get whatever dick Smokestack, Michael B. and Jordan give me. What I'm talking
That's
about
the
is
real
the
Hollywood
image.
trope.
What I'm talking about is the
Where was it?
imagery
Imagery.
of what we're trying to do as Black cinematic fans and creatives. We're trying to take spaces that normally do not include us and put us there.
I agree with
They
you.
normally don't allow a man that's sexy. Like, tell me the movie you saw where Denzel Washington was humping a fat Black woman. It never happened.
No, it doesn't
You see
happen.
what I
He
mean?
doesn't kiss
Michael
women
B.
in his movies
Jordan
That
either.
is
part, I don't
Let's be
disagree with
honest.
you.
He
I
don't
think,
kiss
like I
women in
said,
his
for
movies either.
me, it did
right.
the reason it fit the story. I guess is what because it
No.
to me it felt like it fit the personality of the man who was doing the deed. Like I so it didn't offend my sensibilities in the same way. But I see your point. I see where you're coming from.
I
And
see
I,
it. I see you
I
coming
agree with
from.
you
But
on the
as a
point
light
that it
skinned
could have definitely
woman,
been.
I don't want to get on top. That is not a treat for me. You do me, do something. That
No,
wasn't
we're
it.
But
not talking about the
but
positions. We're talking about the intimacy of face.
I'm saying the
That
intimacy,
whole
me having
love
to get on
scene.
top. You put in the work, nigga. You
No,
was
it
down
don't.
there.
You could have been on the bottom,
Uh-uh.
baby. What I'm saying is, if Michael Coogler started a movie and your character get to look at Michael and my character get to look out the back door, I'ma be mad. We gotta have a fucking meeting,
I
and the
spit
only
in his
way I'ma
mouth.
stick with it is if y'all let him slip it in for
I'm
real.
not that figure. I spit in his mouth. I'm 50 years old and I don't do that.
but
Bro, what? I was like,
Hold on.
we
Hold
spitting in niggas' mouth
on.
now?
I
What?
gotta do a commercial break. I gotta do a commercial break. First of all, we have a new person that popped up. I'm not gonna be on here too much longer, y'all, because I know everybody got stuff to do. I'm gonna keep us going
I
for
had
a
to
little
ask
bit.
my dude, like, is this a thing? He's like, yeah, baby, that's the thing. I was like,
So listen, your favorite villain. I like the fact that you use that name. I can't stand you. Sissy is up here and you at work, so I don't know how you are
Nah,
here, but
nah, nah,
sure.
nah. I'm at home now.
Oh, you home now? Okay.
Yeah.
He's
yeah,
Um,
I'm
joined
on now.
us. So how you doing, man? What you got going on? What you want to add?
I would say the sex scene, I took it for me is because of their interaction with each other was never, I mean, we don't know their backstory, but the interaction
Hmm.
was romantic, like from the get. So I get that. But one thing I did want to say that I don't know if y'all touched on before I got on here is the exchange of the saliva in the mouth. Did anybody catch
Listen, let
that?
me explain. Pause before folks get all listen. That is a kink for some people. Let's just
I
be clear.
understand
it
that, but
is.
where I'm going with
But
it.
the way I need to know, I saw somebody on TikTok make a video and say, I need to know if that was CGI or if they acted that part out for real because I was a little bit thrown off, even though I'm cool with things
The
like
exchange of the saliva is the exchange of demons, is what I'm trying to get to.
mm,
Mm.
possibly,
So every
possibly.
time we seen someone engage in sexual activity on that movie, there was an exchange. What's that on your mouth? You want some? You want some of these demons?
Well,
Yeah.
well.
No,
But
I don't want any of that.
I will say with last thing, because Red, I do perfectly understand where you were coming from with the Annie and Smoke scene. But I also believe somebody in the comments, Sherry, I think said, I don't believe that that would have ever been Ryan's intention to to do that per se. But we also got to look at the time frame. They were getting ready when he went to Annie's. He went there specifically to go to his baby's grave because that's the first thing he did. And sidebar, did y'all see the interview where he said he wanted to add that scene because he wanted to take those flowers in remembrance of Chadwick? I cried 45
oh,
times. I cried. So yeah, but he wanted to go to Annie's, one to see his baby at that site, that grave site they made. And then he knew he had to see Annie, but he also needed Annie's help as he had been getting his whole life anyway, because she protected him, which speaks to Black women are always the protectors, even though that's not supposed to be what we are. We are, but that's what we are. He also wanted to ask her a favor to come cook at the new juke. They didn't have time, but you don't also need a lot of time to make a passionate scene that shows explicit love. A quickie can absolutely be very passionate and romantic. Let's be really clear. It can be very much, you can put all that emotion into it if you truly want to do it. So the whole they ain't had time, I ain't for that. They had time. They just chose not to embody that level of emotion in that scene, which I can understand why and why not. I can understand both sides of it with that particular scene, but I could also understand how that would have made, because you chose to give his love, to make his love interest this dark-skinned, bigger black woman, you should have gone there. That's all. I can agree with Red. You should have gone there. And you could have made it that even from that position. It's not the position that's the problem. It could have still been that. I think, at least.
Like I said, you don't know how much he really loved her until two scenes. One, when she's telling him you gonna have to kill me and he don't want to accept it. And two, when he finally do it. And I dare say three, when she come to him in spiritual form.
Yeah.
I
Anytime
think
before that, it gave me a I'm using you vibe.
I don't
Because
feel
the
it.
light
I don't feel
skinned
it.
girl,
Let me,
y'all
let me,
set
let
up.
me.
I'm just saying, the light skinned girl they set up to protect. The
No,
dark
wait.
skinned woman they kept going to get protection from. It gave shade. Just a
But hold
little
on
bit.
though. But hold on. But hold on. But hold on. But hold on. But let's look at the way that Stack treated Mary the entire movie. Okay, he starts off the movie like, oh shit, there she is. When he turns his back to her, he don't even want to look at this hoe. He turns his back to her. His interaction with her is very negative from the jump. Smoke, on the other hand, that was his second trip. His first trip was to the grocery store. His second trip was like, let me go see this woman. I know it's been a minute, but let me go see her. He had his issues and things like that, but his first mission was to go see his woman and then ask her a favor. But he wanted to see her first, right? But anytime that Mary was on scene, she was chasing him. She was chasing Stack the
But
whole entire
remember
time.
why?
I understand why, because he laid it down,
She was still
No,
chasing him.
no.
but she still chased him the entire movie.
Stack had a respect and a fear of Smoke. And Smoke's told Stack, leave that bitch alone or it's gonna be me and
That
you.
is true.
But before he even
He
told her
was
that,
not ducking
in the
her because he
train
didn't
station,
want her.
But in the
He
train
was
in the
station,
train
saying,
Stack
station,
still knew.
he didn't
Smoke
show that.
wasn't there at the train station, but guarantee Stack knew my brother ain't gonna go for this. He ain't gonna go for me showing up with Mary. Let me tell her to get the hell on before Smoke get on me about it. Cause that's the first thing Smoke did was said, you better handle it when
you
she
better
walked
handle it
in.
or I will.
He
Stack
already
was
knew what his
trying
brother
to
was gonna think
ignore
about that.
her to keep himself and her safe from the wrath of Smoke. And this is why everybody that's team Smoke, y'all secretly got kinks for doms and abusers. Cause Smoke
Maybe not
rules
an
with a
abuser, but a
heavy,
dom, yeah.
no, I'm serious. Smoke rules with a heavy hand.
Yeah.
He pistol whipped Sammie like it won't shit.
Maybe he deserved it
And
though.
Stack won't scared of nobody but Smoke. I want y'all to
Yes.
think my Stack was just as thorough as Smoke. But when it came to him or him, even Stack will go, I ain't on a problem. He wasn't even brave enough to fight him until he was a vampire. Think about that. He would have never lifted a hand against Smoke without being possessed in that way. So
I
that's what I'm
agree.
saying. His whole he wasn't really ducking Mary because he was low key excited to see her. He saw her and realized you about to have my brother on my ass and I don't need that.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
agree.
it wasn't. I don't want to see you. I'm avoiding you. It's oh my God, I would like to see you. But Smoke said, bitch, get the hell on because we done already ran a scam to get you a white husband. And now we're black men down here trying to do business and being seen with you is gonna blow up our spot. So you have to go away.
To go.
That's what that was. It's not that he didn't love her.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
when it
let's
come
be
to Mary, like I said, he really went to see the baby, and he knew she was gonna see him. So you know how dudes do. I'm only here for the such and such, but I know you're gonna see me in passing, and I'm gonna see if you say something to me. If she didn't say nothing to him, he would have left. He gave her the opportunity to acknowledge he was out there.
So I
Let's
don't
be
think
clear. Let's
so.
be clear. Hold on. Let's be clear. Because I also want to hit on Sherry's comment saying I think it goes to him. I'm assuming you talk about Smoke being emotionless. He only showed emotion twice. Let's be clear. Let me bring the mental health aspect into this. We already know that Smoke has PTSD. In my professional opinion, he has complex PTSD because we could talk about him being in war, but we got to go all the way back to him unaliving his own father to save his brother. That man got trauma that a lot of people don't understand and can't understand. He can't even roll his own cigarettes because he shake too bad. I don't think people notice that. That's why Stack always rolled the cigarette. He didn't. He couldn't. He would shake. So when you're dealing with somebody who got PTSD, that's a different layer of we could talk about grief and losing a child gonna add to the PTSD. That ain't gonna help it. So all the things that happened to Smoke throughout his life, having to protect his brother at all costs, having to always be the older stay, because he was the older twin, older, more stable, more responsible. I got to make sure everything works. I got to make sure you okay. That's a lot. And he is that from childhood. He is adultified from childhood. He is made a protector from childhood. He has a lot that he takes on. So he's not emotionless. He has learned he has to compartmentalize everything he feels and just do what needs to be done. I love you with all my heart, but I came here because we opened this juke and we need you to cook. I want to see my baby's gravesite, but I also can't let myself get too engulfed by that because it's going to throw me off. Stack, on the other hand, Stack is about business too, but Stack is willing to, I think Stack is more willing to not be responsible per se, to fall into what his desires are, where Smoke is like, I'm gonna push every desire I have to the side for what needs to be done. Stack is more willing to do that, which is why he's more willing to give in to Mary, even though he knows Smoke ain't gonna be with it. I like this comment where she said, where is it? When Mary tried to guilt Smoke at that juke, and said, you couldn't even come see my mama and she died. I sent your mama flowers. We sent your mama flowers while she was alive to smell them. So don't try to come up in here and say we didn't love your mama and know that she helped us when we were kids, because we did that. But you can't disassociate Smoke from everything he's been through and the trauma and the PTSD. So if you hold on to that, you'll understand why he loved Eddie with all his heart. He just couldn't be as open as we would have liked him to be because of the trauma of that character. That's it, and that's all.
Real quick, did anybody else know what Giovannia just left in the chat, which was the Stack was stuck in their mama when she passed?
That's
Yeah,
I must
that's
have
what
missed that.
do I
when
gotta see it a third time? I was gonna see it a third time anyway. They said
when
that.
Mary was talking to preacher boy with Sammie, when she said, you're old enough to drink, let me go get you a drink. So they went to the bar and they were sitting down. She was telling them about Stack and Smoke and stuff, and this is along the lines right before Smoke came down and talked about how we sent the mama the flowers. She mentioned how her mama helped to get Stack unstuck because she was like, I guess, a midwife. And so, and when their mama passed away, that's her mom went to feed them and all that kind of stuff. And then Smoke came down, and that's when he made the comment about we sent the flowers when she was alive.
Yeah, Mary's
I
mama
wish I
nursed him.
remembered that because I knew Mary Mama nursed them. I just didn't remember her saying that the mother unalived and they got Stack out because he was stuck, and that's what unalives her. And the reason why that's really blowing my mind is because the man who the man who was a baby in an unalived womb is the brother who later is a pimp. And I think that's interesting that your occupation of choice would be to pimp hoes when you are birthed after a woman had to sacrifice her life to get you here. That says to me a lot about black male behavior in a way. So now that I know that, when I go watch it for the third time, I think I have some new notes I want to take.
Yeah.
But thank you for bringing that to my attention, Giovannia, because that's
Yes.
pretty deep.
And that's also why he was more abused than Smoke. You are the reason your mama not here. So
No, you the reason my mama not here, because why did you pump her with 2 babies?
I mean, you can't purposely pump some. I don't know why them fireworks came up. I'm not sure, but stuff come up on my end all the time. You can't say somebody purposely pumped somebody with twins, baby. They wasn't doing
And you
IVF.
can't say I purposely unalived my mama, so we just gonna have to fight about it. Because I'm not gonna be in here. This is why his brother defended him and took him out. Because he didn't ask to be born or created. You got my mama pregnant. So if you really, and that's probably what it was. Because the father was a blues singer, and for all we know, if they ever do a prequel or something, he might have made songs about feeling like he unalived his wife.
That's true.
But that's speculation, because like I said, they don't get that deep. All I know is it sounded like the father knew it was his fault his wife was gone, and he projected it onto the twin
Stack.
boy.
On to Stack. That would
Yeah,
make sense.
because that's
And a lot
crazy
of men
work.
do that.
Yep. A
Look
lot
at
of men do
women.
that.
Oh, you look just like your daddy, and the one that looked like the daddy get treated the worst. You
Yep.
understand what I'm saying? The
True.
daddy that left. So it's a generational trauma.
That's true. So listen, we're gonna talk about one last scene, and I think I am gonna do a part 2 of this.
You got to, Ash.
I got to, and
You
maybe
got to.
this will be a Sunday
My
thing
phone
until we
died,
feel
y'all. I
like
had to go home.
we got enough of it out. Maybe this will be my Sunday thing until I feel like I don't want to talk about it no more, or I do it
But
on Saturday.
Tuesday's open. Tuesday's open.
Listen, I'm gonna figure it out because we're gonna talk about sinners again.
I kind of want to slap the shit out of Stack now. I'm thinking about it.
Why?
Cause like just thinking about
Oh my
like you the
God.
pimp,
Yeah,
like you.
You know what? This is the first time I heard that he was really a pimp. I
he
did not
was.
Yeah,
take it
Yeah, he
from that.
was. So that was stated.
Yeah,
Smoke was
I was
selling.
not. I
He
guess I was
said in the
blinded
store
by the beard.
when he was locked in the room when he woke up from being a vampire.
He
He
said, "You gonna
said,
lock up
"Y'all
all
got
this
pimping."
pimping?"
Yeah, I love when he
Yeah,
said
I
that.
saw that. I just thought that was just something that
No,
niggas
see,
say.
but even
what
before
told
then,
me he was a pimp was when he said back when you was selling ass in Chicago,
yeah,
would you take wooden nickels? And he was like, no.
yeah.
No, I was not
I
gonna do
heard
that.
that too. I guess I just didn't want to believe it. Things
Yeah, he
that
was
we
the
do
pimp.
in the black community to
Yep.
protect our own. Okay, all
Now
right,
the next.
Uncle
Smoke,
Joe. Okay.
Smoke sold the bootlegging and or D-Rugs, and Stack sold coochie.
Yep. Yep.
No.
And we gonna get. That's what I do want to get into when we do another one. The concept of them being in Chicago and taking on the Italians and the Irish mobs. Because that was I hope they do make another movie because of that alone. That in the Choctaw Nation, I need another movie. But
I
I
just want to
want.
point out
Oh,
that
go ahead,
when they
Jay.
were in Chicago, like Stack was on one side, so they only knew Stack, and Smoke
Yes.
was on the other side, and they only knew Smoke. So that's why they were able to rob both sides
Move.
and put both sides
Correct.
against each other because they
Yes.
only
There's an
saw
article about
they
that
never
too.
Yep.
have think
Yes.
that two of them. It was just one of them.
Yes, because
Mhm.
people don't realize, but at the time, the Italian mob and the Irish mob, they would do
They
business
was going at
together
it.
to
Yeah.
make green money, but they didn't mess with each other like that.
Nope.
They didn't like each other like that. Okay, so last scene we are gonna have. I just want to bring this scene up because it was probably my second favorite scene, and then we're gonna wrap up for tonight, and I'm gonna get with y'all about doing this again because it's a lot more to talk about, but. The final scene, which is one of my favorites, not final, because the post credit scenes was something else. We gonna touch on that a little bit
That's
too.
a lie by itself.
Listen, but the scene in which now he knows at this point the Klan ain't gonna let me have this building nowhere. They'll be here in the morning to try to take me out. And they told him when they bought the building, if y'all ever cross our property line, we gonna kill every one of y'all. Baby, the way that military soldier set that up. I was in the movie theater internally screaming and clapping.
You know
I
I
was
was
so
too.
proud. I was so very proud. And I done seen and heard that a lot of people felt the kind of way, particularly the unmelanated people felt the kind of way.
Oh,
I'm like, how
what
you
the?
feeling?
These are Klansmen.
How you feeling the kind of way about them taking out Klansmen? I don't know how you feeling the kind of way about that. But the way he unalived the main one, the last one, when he asked for that cigarette and then he sees Annie and the baby and he tried to like fight or talk for his life and he just lit him up. I said, that's what I needed. I needed him to be alive enough to light him up and then go be with Annie. And it was beautiful when she said, you got to leave that smoke out here. A lot of people
Mhm.
didn't catch the double in that. She wasn't saying the
Cigarette.
cigarette. You
Yeah,
have
she
to
was talking about
smoke on
yourself.
this side. I need Elijah to come over here, not smoke.
Because when she called him Elijah. She didn't call him Smoke. She said Elijah.
Yep. Elijah, you got to put that smoke out. I said, oh, this is
And that
beautiful.
scene made me upset because he couldn't roll his own cigarettes because his brother was the one that was
PTSD.
rolling them for him. And he said, "Do you have a cigarette?" Because
Yep.
they was pre-rolls back then. And
Yep.
so at that point, that upset me as well. Had me a little misty eyed because he's like, I'm gonna smoke this cigarette because this is the thing that calms me because this is my nerves. I'm finna go out here and I'm about to unalive these people because that is my function as a protector. And then I'm gonna go be with my family. But before I go, I'm gonna just have one last dance for you, Gator. And that's what he did.
Yep. And he smelled, listen, the thing was, like, I love that you just said he smoked a cigarette because that's what calms me. He lit that cigarette because that's what calmed him. But Annie and that baby calmed him too. I'm giving that up for what ultimately really calms me, for the peace that I've been looking for. The baby, her, that's all he wanted. And so that scene to me, aside from him killing the whole all the clan folks, that was just a beautiful scene to see
I'm
him.
Yep.
surprised that Denise nor Red has said anything in regards to the Bible and Elijah and the Bible ascended to heaven in all white and he when he
I
You never
ascended.
said,
have.
Baby, we
I
listen. We
have.
just
Type that
I'm
in.
assumed.
late.
I
I'm
just
late.
typed that.
We
I'm
assumed
late.
that everybody knew that it's a dichotomy. This
I'm
the
late.
same thing. It means the same thing. Yeah.
I know I got
yep.
on here late.
I
Well,
know.
Girl,
friend,
yes.
my favorite scene is dealing with the Bible because I said when they put the guitar near the Christian altar that says "in remembrance of me," that is what truly set the tone of the film for me. And that's when I realized this was going to be a movie about choosing self, your gifts, the spirit world, and your ancestors. So the Bible plays a part in that, and I think some of this I talked about on the side with Ash that we didn't get around to tonight when we actually went live. But yes, oh, it's
So
so much
much.
to talk about with this movie. But you saying so? Your question to us about that last scene is what part did you want us to speak on?
No, I was just making sure I brought it up because of people's reaction to it. The reactions I saw from some people who felt like it wasn't necessary, but that was pretty much from the unmelanated folks, and the fact that he took that mojo bag off. I knew at that point he was ready to go. I don't know why
Yep.
people got mad at that. He took that mojo bag off because he knew as long as I can take
Agreed.
them out, I'll be ready to go. And that's
Agreed.
perfectly okay. Some people be more ready than others, given their life and what they done been through and what they've lost. And it was also interesting after the fact. I'm gonna go to the post credits only because of this. We didn't know that he allowed Stack to survive
Right.
until that post credit scene. I
Mhm.
don't know how Mary got away. We don't know where Mary ends up, but she ain't with them when they burning up
I
out there.
do.
Come on.
Mary ran
I
away
got it.
after he took Anna out. She couldn't
Yep.
take it. She dipped.
Oh, she never
So
came
they
back from that.
She never
no, she
came
never
back.
came
She
back.
left right then.
Mm-mm.
She
Okay.
wailed in pain, and Stack took her in his arms, and they ran away. Stack come back though
Yeah, because he
because
wants
he
smoke.
is
He
determined
need
that
his
Smoke
brother.
is coming with them.
He need his
Right.
brother. And that's the interesting thing is that they made a deal. To the end, those brothers protected one another, I think, and made sure that they both got what they desired. Because Stack wanted to be on that side at that point. Everything Stack wanted, he could
Yep.
have. He would never die. He was okay living like in an undead state. He was okay. Smoke, all Smoke wanted to once Annie let him know if they turn you, you are disconnected from your ancestors. Smoke wanted to die, but he wanted to make sure he was with Annie and his baby. So these brothers, outside of us seeing it, made this deal where I'm gonna let you go your way and I'm gonna go my way, and we'll never see each other again. But Smoke making him promise you cannot touch Sammie. If I let you live, you can never touch him. And he never touched him. In the end, he comes to him and asks him, "You want to join our side?" And that man was like, "I think I've seen enough. I think I've
I,
been here long enough."
what made that deep though is what he made him promise to be was an ancestor. You may can't become one the way you were intended. But if I let you still continue to live, you still have to function in the capacity of which we are supposed to.
Mhm.
He followed Sammie and protected Sammie, and that's how Sammie achieved old age. Because I truly believe that those spirits never stopped chasing Sammie. Stack
They
just
did.
never let him get to him. So I think he had spiritual protection on both sides.
I can see
And
that.
that's what I found that was very deep about it.
Absolutely.
I
And
can
if
see that.
I
Absolutely.
had written the movie, uh, Smoke would have become an old man too. And it would have been a heartfelt moment that when Stack walked in a club and seeing what he would have looked like as an old man.
I could have seen it, but
And
I,
had
I
a
prefer Smoke to have gone. I
I
don't.
don't
I
know.
wouldn't have wanted to see.
I don't know.
I don't. I wouldn't have wanted to see Smoke survive it with his brother being on the other side and the love of his life being back with their child. I was
You have
perfectly okay.
nothing to live for at that point.
He had nothing else to live for. I
And see,
can
that's the
fully
part I
understand.
didn't like because I feel like so many Black heroic stories always end where that black man feels like without something or someone, their life on its own can't still move on.
But what's interesting there
That's something I hate to
is
keep seeing
if he
perpetuated
lived,
in film.
I feel like he lived because Sammie lived. They would never die. Their line would never die. Their story would never die. That connection would never die. Sammie having the power to break the veil would never die because Sammie survived. Sammie was always supposed to be the one who survived, I think, from the
But what I
beginning.
didn't like was if we're telling an ancestral story and one brother becomes cursed and cannot have children, the other brother passes away and did not have a living children, and Sammie appears to have had no children, this bloodline with this concentrated power is gone.
Is gone. Yeah, we
I
don't know if
didn't fuck
Sammie had
with
a
it.
kid. We
Yeah,
don't know if Sammie
I didn't
had
fuck with it. I'm sorry. I feel like this would have been a good chance to show black men that suffer from mental illness that if you connect to the spirit world, you can heal and still live here. And when it is time for you to choose your passing, you can choose it in peace and not war and destruction.
I could see that. I could
But
see
That's
that.
love
what
is
kind
always
of
the
made
highest
me
vibration.
sad.
I could
Hmm.
see that. What'd you say, D?
I said, but love is always the highest vibration. And so when you feel like you don't have anybody left on this planet to love you, you're going to go where the love is. And that
That's
was on the
true
other
too.
side.
32,
That's
he
You
true
won't
see what
too.
I'm
survive.
saying? He don't have his brother, he don't have his wife, and he don't have his child. For somebody, and we keep thinking that these are ancestral people, these people were probably under the age of 30, right? So
Mhm.
therefore, under the age of 30, I can't even date that, and that's a dig at Shannon Sharp. But I can't even date under 35 because of the fact, fuck that old nigga. I can't even date under the age of 35 because the conversation is different. So it's like at that age, at that time in Jim Crow South, what else was there? There was the church, there was my wife, there was my child, there was my brother, and I don't even have my daddy, and I don't have my mama. Ain't nothing left for me. And so that's where that whole situation comes. And that's what makes that particular scene that Ashley's talking about so beautiful, because he's like, I'm just finna go be with my people. Love is always the highest vibration. So I think even Stack chose love. He said, I can't be with this, octroon, quadroon, melodroon in this realm, but I can go be with her forever in another realm. We can make each other miserable in another realm. Classic toxic relationship amongst Negroes, right? But it's still love is the highest vibration and it will win every time. And so the strongest relationship in love is from parent to child. People can argue me all the way down. And then when you don't have that because it's gone awry, the second relationship you have, which is symbiotic, is to the two brothers, right? Which is where the word Philadelphia comes from, brotherly love, right? That's why it's called the city of brotherly love. And so when now you don't have that, you can't even get to agape, which is that love that we talk about in the church, which is damned you pretty much, right? So he said, I'll just go. Imagine being under 30, having experienced death and all of that, and then having to say, and I lost my child, my son, my lineage. So the only thing I have left to do is just make sure that this dude right here stays alive. And I totally believe that that was the ancestor on the other side. People talk about a lot about angels and demons. And I didn't even look at it like when I'm watching them as vampires, I'm still not looking at them as vampires. And I think Ryan Coogler did a really, really good job of that. Cause yeah, they biting people and they biting niggas. But at the same time, I just looked at them as demonic entity. And I just looked at it like at the same time, there's angels. And I think he wasn't ready to introduce that to Hollywood because now you telling secrets, right? You
Mhm.
telling people the truth. And he couldn't bring that angelic and demonic. When you're born, they say that you're born with an attending demon and an attending angel. So people always talk about the guardian angels. And so what did they say? The devil you know. So if I know this devil, right, there is a such thing as dark angels for a reason, trauma. That's why you don't remember when you in a car accident. You don't remember when somebody bashed your head in. You don't remember those things because that was a dark angel that took that from you. They remember. That's how come they know just like you know. And so when you start to think about that, I think that Stack was on the other side protecting Sammie, right? Because of the fact that that is the congregation, that is the communion they made with their bloodline.
Yeah.
We have to keep this one safe.
But so sometimes I veer away from just trying to see how what the creatives decided made the story make sense versus to other ways the story could have still made sense and gave us as a people better imagery. So here's my problem with letting smoke give up on life. Love is the highest vibration and it's infinite. We just sat here and listened to you explain that he felt like love was finite and that's why he gave up on still trying to live.
Hmm.
Now, he did that in 30 years when Remick never gave up for 1,000. Once again, you're making it
Who did
seem
Remick
like
love?
white people have a stronger
No.
desire to
Who did Remick
find
love?
joy.
Who did Remick love?
Remick loved all his ancestors he lost, and that's why
No,
he
he
was trying
didn't.
to
He was
steal a
stealing our
voice.
stories.
No, hold on.
He was a
Because
doppelganger of everyone that he killed. Remick
no,
did
but
not
hold
have a
on.
love story.
We gotta double back. Remick only does not have a fleshed out love story because he's not the main character. What you
Hmm.
hear Remick tell you his true desire is to use Sammie's voice to call his ancestors for him because he cannot. And he specifically tells Sammie, I will teach you my songs and I will know yours, and we will make beautiful music together
But
in
guess
order
what?
for him to reach spirituality that he can't do as a dead white
Know why
man.
he can't do it?
So, with that being said, right, what disturbs me is a demon who has lost his humanity 1,000 years ago still believes his pursuit of life is worth it, but a 30-year-old black man thinks it's over.
My
Y'all
issue with
don't
that
feel
is
me on
that
that?
I understand what you're saying, but if Remick had love, and since love is the highest vibration, two vampires instead of just one, they would have tore them people up. They would have tore up the whole United States. Sammy is not the only chosen one. He was just one of the chosen. You know how many
Right,
gifted black people there are in the United States of Villa Rica, Georgia? There's a lot. And so at the end of the day, he was just the one that summoned them. They
right.
always want what we have in our DNA. They always want that. And so that's why. Why do they say in poetry that when two black people love each other, that is a revolutionary movement? It is for that reason alone. Remick didn't have love because if he did, that would have been the thing that fueled him to get back to her. He didn't have love. He probably didn't
No,
have a chance to have love because if he had love, that would have been the thing that motivated him. You can't be motivated by hate. Hate is not stronger than love. You can't be motivated by lust. That's a lower chakra. It
it's
doesn't work
not
like
that
that.
he didn't have it. He was so far removed from it. And the
If you
closest
love
he could
somebody, you
get
never
back,
remove from them
no,
ever.
it is for him because he's been cursed.
I don't
Let's talk
know.
about the
I'm not a
magic
white
behind
Irish
this.
man. I know I'm a black person that loves black people. And
But
so
we not
therefore, if I
see
love my man,
that's not the
we going
comparison though.
into other realms. And so that's how I took it is that we willing to go into other realms for ours and you aren't, which is why we are the more
It ain't that
powerful
he
of the
not willing,
people.
he
He can't.
can't.
He
He
literally
See,
can't.
can't.
he
That's
see
Right.
different.
the
So if
metaphor,
he
the
had
metaphor
it,
to me
he
is
would have
that
took it.
white
He don't
folk
have
are
her.
no, but it's not about a her. Right? I'm not talking about he had a love interest or a lover. I'm talking about he had a love of life to the point that he was willing to manipulate, steal, kill to get it back. He
For
loved
1,000 years,
being
he was looking for a connection back to life, back
to
to his
life.
ancestors. For a thousand
Yes.
years, he was willing to unalive other people. He was willing to make them undead. For 1,000 years, his whole goal was to
So
get
what does
back.
this teach us about them and us? They're savages. We are not. We don't
No, that's
function
not what
from
I'm
that
speaking on.
space. We don't
What I'm
function from
speaking
that
on is
space.
he's willing
We are
to
not.
be savage, to
Right.
regain humanity.
But see that, but then that speaks. We're
Smoke
not
is
willing.
willing
We're not
Smoke is
to
willing to
not
give
do
willing to
that.
be
up.
a
We do
savage.
things out of
Her
love.
smoke is willing to give up living because he thinks having humanity isn't worth it. Do
Right.
you
Because
He
see
for a
tells
how
black
his
do you
man,
loved
see how
ones,
both of those are tragic? So
they
what
both
I
are.
don't like is don't let the white man know the value of living and make the black man feel like abandoning living is more valuable.
here's the
That's
problem. They were
backwards.
killing us anyway. When in history were we just going around killing white folks and
I
they had to
don't I'm
beg to
not talking
live?
about the
It
history. I'm
never
talking
happened.
about the
So therefore,
imagery.
love was all we had.
But
They
see,
get to choose whether they
we
get to
gotta
live
have
or
a
die or not. We
conversation
didn't
I'm
have that.
actually having. If we branch out into what you're talking about, that's right all day long. What I'm discussing is based on Ryan Coogler's
She
words,
got her hand
is
raised.
he's also trying to perpetuate Black art with an optimism and a rebuilding of our psyche spiritually. That's what he feels that the ancestors have sent him to do. If that is the case, he could have told the exact same story where the main protagonist chooses life to still do the same thing.
But
Because
see, I think it
after he
still
Never
works.
have.
realized no, after he realized his bloodline had the ability to call spirit, he could have seen Anna and that baby anytime he wanted to. All Sammie had to do was sing
Friend,
a song.
I'm sorry,
Let's
I don't.
stop playing. He
Okay.
didn't have to die to
Oh, I'm
be
not
with them.
playing.
Hold on.
I
Go,
don't
No,
Jay.
not
think
not
Go,
I
you
Jay.
playing, but
Oh, I
like
know, I know.
movie basically makes everyone think that the twins are the protagonists in the movie, but the protagonist in this movie the whole entire time was Sammie. It started with
Exactly.
Sammie,
Yep,
ended with Sammie. So
absolutely.
the
it's
twins were never going to have the quote unquote happy ending that everybody wants them to have because it was
Never.
as the twins did this and the twins did that. But the whole point of the movie was Sammie's discovery of his gifts. Sammie living through the disaster of blah blah blah
That
blah,
night.
and what is he
get
gonna
out,
choose
get out, get
in the
out.
end?
Sorry.
So I don't. I know that you think that Michael B. Jordan was the protagonist, but he actually
He's
wasn't.
not.
It was
Nope.
always Sammie.
It was
Yep,
always Sandy. It was
I
always,
agree.
and here's what the movie does exactly. No,
So sorry, y'all. Is Ashley still there?
I think Ash froze. Oh
I
no.
think she froze.
Oh, there she
Oh
goes.
damn. Well, in the meantime, y'all, I would
okay,
say the
here we go. I'm
protagonist
sorry.
is not.
My
The
Wi-Fi messed up.
protagonist is not. Oh, she back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it still went the way it was supposed to, even if it had ended the way you said or the way that it did. I still see it as ending in a way that shows us the power of love and ancestors and lineage and all
Yep.
of that. It still does the same thing you are saying it would have done had he lived. It still did that to me. It still did. Him seeing Annie and that baby in that white, in that ancestral realm, did something to me. That for me was everything. For him to choose, I'm going to leave hell on earth to go be in the ancestral realm and watch over Sammie going forward. Stack watching over Sammie from the other side. All of that to me, because Sammie is the real protagonist, all of that did what you said the other ending would have done. It still did it for me.
I'm
It still
gonna
did
say the protagonist to me is not any one relative, it is their bloodline. And not solidifying for me, because maybe it's gonna be a sequel, but not solidifying for me that that bloodline would continue failed the story to me.
But
And
if the
that's the
bloodline
point I'm
ends,
making.
if the
Because
bloodline ends,
Remick,
yeah.
as the opposition, knew he could not continue the bloodline. Therefore, he made sure he made enough vampires to connect with. When he realized he could not reach family, he made family. So, why
Mhm.
couldn't we have given Smoke a chance to do that? He could have had more children. He could have met another love. When you tell a Black man under 30, you will never find joy again if you choose the direction of being a warrior in life versus if you choose to be a warrior in the spirit. I feel like image wise, it could be a little morbid and depressing because I cannot tell you as a 35-year-old woman how many 35-year-old Black men want to not live anymore. And to me, that validated their experience and their feeling. It didn't motivate them to
I
think
get that
different.
frame. I get that frame, Red, but him in
It's
this
about to be a
particular case,
whirlpool.
not in every case, but in this particular case of Smoke choosing how he chose, to me that still spoke to his autonomy and it spoke to him being able to make that choice in that moment. And also it said to me, I get to be tired and I get to say I want to be done. I get to choose that for myself. I get to be tired. I get to say I went to war. I had an abusive father. Life hasn't been smooth for me. In 30 years, I've lived the life of someone 70. I get to say I'm tired and put it all
Yep.
down, which is another thing Black men and Black people in general don't get to do often. We don't get to
Yep.
say we want to rest. Rest doesn't get to be resistance for us.
Nope.
We don't get to say,
But
I can put it all down and choose to walk away from it. I get what you're saying too, and how that could be looked at as you chose to, you're looking at it like you chose to give up. I'm looking at it like I chose to say I'm done. And I get to say I'm done when I want to
not
say I'm done
that.
versus
Because if
somebody
we
else
talk,
doing it for me.
I'm not saying that. Because if we're talking about real spirituality, that's exactly how it would go. I said, for the context of the imagery of this film and the goal Michael Coogler says he has, he went against his mission to me, because what you showed us is the spiritual most powerful of us get to choose to stay or go, but the people playing get to stay forever. Stack was having too much damn fun. This motherfucker showed up in a Coogler sweater with a box haircut with gold chains, living in the future like a regular, you know what. So if Smoke had the gift of eternity, to be immortal, what would he have brought to the world?
His only way to be immortal, though, immortal was to turn to that. We don't
I
know
don't
how
even
that
think
would
I
look.
meant immortal. I meant to stay alive and grow wiser in age. My original ending is him and Sammie are old together. And
Hold
when
together.
they come to the club, they get to see each other for the first time in all that time since that night. That's really what I wanted for Smoke. I wanted him to live long enough to get to the Ash, the FNT, and get psychological help. I wanted him to live long enough to see what Jim Crow stopped. I wanted the black men of that era like him to get to today and say all that I went through meant something. I was the dude that eradicated the Klan and lived through it. I
I'm a,
wanted that for him.
I'm gonna end on this note. I'm gonna end on this note because we're gonna do another live of this. You just said I wanted him to get here to today to where he can see everything I did wasn't for nothing. There's a flip
Mhm.
to that because he also had to get here and see a Donald Trump administration and how active the Klan and racism still is. He would have had to see George Floyd's and Tamir Rice's and all of that still happening. He would have had to see that side of things too.
I
See, it
don't
ain't
think
all
so.
rainbows and shit on this side.
No, I'm not saying rainbows. I'm saying if the men of that era, like the Smokes, had survived, we wouldn't be here. See, the real masculine spiritual manhood was assassinated. And if those men got
He
to
had no
live,
education and no
this
business
would
sense.
not
We would still be
exist.
here.
Think about it. If those men got to live, right? Meaning if they chose life. Think about the Smokes that did live who had their life snatched. Malcolm had his life snatched. He was a
Malcolm
smoke.
want no
Boom.
smoke.
Yes, he. If we talking about the black men who protected and who stood and who did what they needed to for our communities, anytime we have a leader, if we look through history,
Are we
they
talking
are
about
taken.
real life, or are we talking about what I wish happened in the
So
movie? Because if
Smoke and
we
Stack were
transition back
thieves
to
of
real
the
life,
mob. They
I
was gonna
can't
get
say
found out and
nothing
killed.
against what y'all saying.
They
I'm talking
thieves.
about
That's
what I
what they
wanted
were.
for this movie.
Okay, for this movie.
You
Okay,
see,
Girl,
what I'm saying?
you
Y'all are
project.
transitioning into
debating it.
real life while I'm
Oh, okay.
talking about my dream ending
Well,
for a
because you
movie.
when you transition to you wish Smoke had to live to see Ash the FNT to get the help he needed and to see this and to see you
Right, like a
transitioned into him
character
seeing.
like that.
Okay,
You
okay.
see what I'm saying? Like in the movie
Yes,
universe, because I keep stressing, I don't know how I keep getting lost in it. I keep stressing that Michael Coogler says he wants to create imagery based on history to change the psyche of what we're seeing in these theaters. That's a part of his mission. That's what he feel like he's here to do. When are you going to start giving us the endings that help us do that? Because
I agree.
we know tragedy. We know it's
I can
fucked up.
understand.
Change the ending.
I can
Like, why
understand
you
because
want to keep?
I was
I don't
if we
know.
want to, I'm gonna just bring in something a little different real quick. I can understand what you mean now, just because that's exactly how I felt at the end of Queen and Slim. I was pissed off at the end of Queen and
Oh,
Slim when
Yep.
they did not
oh,
survive. I was pissed. So I understand what you're saying now. Now that you say that, I get it. I get how the movie, the way it ended, is still okay for me, but I also get where you're at because, yeah, I felt the same about Queen and Slim. But I will say these last couple of comments here. If Smoke had lived, Sammie's life might have not have looked the same. He didn't want Sammie in the club. He told Sammie, go do gospel. Go ahead and choose something else. That don't mean Sammie would have listened. It doesn't mean Sammie would have listened, but I do think it's just like the butterfly effect. Anything you alter alters everything. So if you keep smoke alive, Perlene's doesn't get opened with Sammie as a club owner headlining at a club and making records all his life and choosing the blues. That doesn't happen. Butterfly
I
effect
think it
means if you alter
does.
something, everything alters.
But this is the thing, it may not have been Perline, but it might have been a spiritual house or a Monanzo or a church. See, because what you couldn't do
Or he
was
could have
stop
been lynched
Sammy's
and
voice.
murdered. We don't
You
know.
couldn't stop Sammy's voice. That
You
now
could,
that is very imperative to the film. Whatever
yes,
Sammy became, his voice was going to be the key, and
that's
nobody
true.
could stop that, no matter who they were. It had already
Nobody
been
can stop it. Yeah,
ordained by ancestors and divinity higher than the people even dealing in the film. So
that's
he would have definitely still been who Sammy was meant to be, even if the venue or the name had to change.
that's true. That's true. Whew, okay. Anybody got any last words? Last words? Last so, something you want me to write down so we can talk about it in the next one? Because we got to do a next one. I feel like it's too much stuff I missed. It's too much in this movie. So we got to do a next one. But if anybody got any last words,
This is real
Happy to
quick.
be
Did
part of the
anybody notice?
discussion.
wait, hold on. What, D?
I said just happy to be part of the discussion. Hopefully we get back on it.
I'm glad you was here. We are. We going to do another one. Okay, Emac.
Just a quick. Did anybody notice? Going back to that Mojo bag. Anybody notice when Stack went to bite Smoke? It made a sound. Okay, okay.
I got to watch it
I
again
was talking
anyway.
about that earlier, Emac, how the use of sound in this film was phenomenal because
Hmm.
in this movie, sound is what really told the story. You had to
Yep.
listen for the little whoops and those
Um,
was those symbolized the magic, the
Hmm.
memories, and the energy.
Yeah.
Sound was everything in this movie.
and
I
it kind of that sound kind of paused Stack from biting Smoke, and and you can see the protection of the Mojo bag. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I thought that was
I
pretty cool.
didn't
But
pay
anyway, this
attention
was a
to
great
the
movie.
first. Go ahead, E.
Yeah, I was gonna say this was a great movie. This was a great discussion. I can't wait for the next one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
probably watch
didn't
the
pay
fourth
attention.
time to catch anything. Some more things I didn't
Yeah.
catch this third time.
It's things I gotta go back and watch for now because y'all done mentioned it tonight. Because I definitely didn't catch the sound, but the second time I watched, I tried to watch their movement and I saw how he like stiffened because of that Mojo bag. I saw his body literally.
Yeah.
He was trying to fight against it and he couldn't. And I was like, yeah, that Mojo bag something crazy.
It had a little slight glow to it. Like when you
Hmm.
look, you're gonna look at it again. Like look at the bag. It actually has like a little slight glow.
That was his dog tags, Keish. Sissy, that was his dog tags, his military
I
tags.
was wondering if those were dog tags because my sister, I was like,
They
dog
are,
tags have looked the same for ages. Those didn't look like
They,
regular
they,
dog tags.
but those are
they
old.
were
Like if you go
in the
back
beginning.
and you
They
Google it,
tried
that's what they said they was dog tags. Smoke had some and Stack had
dog
some too. They were
and
dog
Okay.
tags.
Stack still had his dog tags on as a vampire when he made him promise not to eat Sammie. That's when he gave his dog tags to Smoke. You have to look at it.
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't notice that
Yeah,
from
Okay.
now
reading.
I gotta see it
I didn't
again.
notice
Yep.
that at
I
all.
didn't see that.
Okay, I gotta go back and watch it again. Okay.
Probably making
Any
him
part words,
immune
Miss
to things.
Miss Red? Any part word? Because we're gonna get back on here. We gonna do this again.
We're gonna do this many, many times, but I would say my parting words for the night is in remembrance of me.
Mm,
Make sure that as you and it was no coincidence that this movie came out right before Easter either.
mm-mm,
I would really want all people, if I'm being fair, but selfishly and spiritually, my people, I want you to really start remembering who you are, who you've been, and the possibility of who you could be. I want you to start, and if you're Christian, remember Christ, do that. But don't remember him and forget yourself. Don't remember him and forget all the slaves and Jim Crow survivors and all the people who had to live, make love, fight, and unalive for you to exist. Don't be so embarrassed of our history in this country that you try to act like you don't want to have nothing to do with it. don't be so saved that you want to forget your drunk uncle. Because that drunk uncle might be the ancestor that kept you from dying from a drunk driver. You see what I'm saying? It's so many things that the movie is telling you to remember. And I want you to put a concerted effort into remembering. And those would be my closing remarks for part one of our sinners review.
Oh, and can I just circle back? I know I said it's a closing remark, but one other thing, along with the remembrance things, read. Remember to stop inviting these white people to the cookout.
Because we can talk
Okay.
about gatekeeping in part two. Because we're gonna talk
Yes.
about why gatekeeping is important in part two. We gonna get into
Okay.
that. Okay. Um, and I'm gonna put this last remark up real quick from the comments. The clan couldn't get in because Stack was locked inside at the end. He locked that building from the outside so that nobody could get in, and that was still his last stage in protecting his brother. So that part was interesting. He protected his brother to the very end. Now, here's my parting words. I kind of was going to go the way that Red went about remembering. It has probably for the past, my baby is going to be 12, probably the past 12, 13 years. I have been in this journey of deconstructing. I grew up in a Baptist church, grew up with a certain belief system. As soon as I started to study that really for myself and started to deconstruct and really analyze things differently with more of a critical lens, it's not that I do not believe, it's that it looks very different. And in remembering where we came from, I need people to stop demonizing that a people group who oppressed us told us to demonize and hate. We were told that our ancestors' ways were demonic. That doesn't mean they were. That means that's what you were told. And I need people to start to realize that no matter what you believe, you are indoctrinated into that belief. Even if you talk about ATRs and things like that, you are indoctrinated into what you believe. So it is a reason that somebody who has oppressed you for years and colonized your people wanted to cut you off from your power source. I'm not saying that true Christ, because let's be clear, a lot has been altered over time. So even that is not given to people in a true light. But true Christ and Christianity doesn't do what a lot of people even do now, because it doesn't make you hate people that you don't understand. It doesn't do that. So I just want people to realize that the very thing you demonize is the thing that has probably kept you and saved your whole bloodline's life. Those root workers, they in all of our families, if we come from slavery. If we are descendants of slavery, you are a descendant of chattel slavery in America, somebody in your bloodline was a root worker or dabbled in it, did something, went to the root worker to protect your family. Somewhere in there that happened. Think about all the different things that your grandparents or great grandparents did that you didn't know why they did it. They just did it. And baby, that's probably root work. And it's probably saved your life over and over again. And now you want to demonize it and call it wrong and do all that. That doesn't make sense, because nobody said these things couldn't coexist together. Nobody ever said that, other than the people trying to colonize you and take away your power. So for y'all to keep calling things like this demonic makes no sense. You are actually being very disrespectful to your bloodlines. And for y'all to keep saying that people dealing with their ancestors are wrong, how can you say that? The Bible itself talks about the cloud of witnesses. It is nothing wrong with honoring your ancestors and tapping into that. There's nothing wrong with that. When we talk about guardian angels, what do you think that is? That's what that is. So y'all gotta stop. Y'all, at the very least, if you are going to do that, make sure you've studied. Make sure you've looked at the history of hoodoo in this country and how it did save our people. You are not here by happenstance. You here because somebody in your bloodline saved y'all. That's it, and that's all. And I'm not saying that God wasn't a part of that, or that Christ wasn't a part of that, or that belief didn't help, but you really got to analyze, why would you want me to cut off one part of myself? That doesn't make sense. So and that's my parting words. I want y'all to really pay attention
I
to
love that.
those who call this demonic and those who say like I saw people say that it was certain parts of the movie that caused them to get up and leave because it was too demonic for them. But maybe that was the demon in you being chased away. Maybe that wasn't. Like, have you ever thought that that was the demon in you connecting to something that was way too close to home and you got up? That might not have been God telling you to leave. Because trust and believe Satan is sitting in the church pew with you on Sunday. Because we saw Remick repeat that Bible verse. They know it too. And they sit there too. In real life, demons don't run from holy water in the church. They sit there with y'all. So let's be real clear. Until you really ready to analyze your life and get demons and stuff out of your own life, how dare you say that a movie that's trying to show our culture and show our connection to things is opening up a demonic portal? No, it's not. That was already opened in your life. So just want y'all to be clear on that. Okay? All right. D-Mac, you were muted. What were you trying to say?
I was like, them portals been opened on Christmas by the Pope, but that's neither here nor there.
Ash, I
Yeah.
don't know if had saw my parting words, but my parting words were pretty clear. When people show you who they are, believe them and remove them from your presence. It's expeditiously. Hashtag put Grace out the building.
Not put Grace out the building now. Hold on.
That's all they had to do, Jay. Put our ass outside.
Where's Marvin Sapp when you need him?
That could be a euphemism. Her name being Grace, and you saying put Grace out the building. Maybe we ought to stop showing grace to people who mean us harm.
You ain't see the thing about grace 2 times, because Annie means grace also in the Bible. When you break it all the way down, there were 2 graces and sinners. Boom.
Ooh.
Anna broke down.
There
it is.
The Emac said in the comment, the things you call normal in church came from our ancestors. They did. There are a lot of things in the church that are from other belief systems, and it was incorporated in to pull people in. Don't forget that either. So I say, you're not disconnected from your history, even if you want to be. It still shows up. You just don't know what it is, because the griots have it passed down in the knowledge and the information, and so you feel disconnected.
So my English spirit is bothered. I was always taught that it was griot. When did we add the T? Because they said the T in the movie, they said the T in the interview, and I'm like,
griot. It
is. I always taught it was griot.
You saying it?
I think it depends on the language where you get it. I think it depends.
Well, as a Gullah Geechee gal, hearing that griot bothered me real bad.
But
the gree, yeah, I heard that too.
Right, it's not the same. We don't call it a mojo bag. We call it gree. So it just depends.
It just depends, yeah.
And I was all kinds of confused.
I think it depends. I've heard it both ways. Griot, I've heard it both ways. We'll get some clarification on that. But really, really, last word. Now I think I done forgot what it was. Now that we said all of that. Oh shoot, it'll come to me. Maybe I'll make it a post. Listen. Thank y'all so much for joining on Facebook and YouTube tonight. We are going to do this again because I feel like it's just important to talk about these themes and such in this movie. It's a lot in here, and it's a lot we can take away from it, and it's a lot for everybody to learn. Okay, so y'all go watch it if you haven't. Hopefully everybody was here tonight watched it, because baby, if you didn't, we just told you all of the movie. We basically told you all of it. But join me again. I will make sure to post when we are going to do another live and get folks up here on the panel like we got right now. And thank y'all for being here with me tonight to talk about this. I knew y'all couldn't wait. So I was like, good, I got some people to talk about it with. So I'm sure they will all be back.
Y'all since Thursday.
Listen, I'm sure we will all be back.
I ain't go to work today, Ash. I ain't go to work.
No, I didn't go to work today.
I ain't feel like it.
Well, hey, that's all right too. All right, everybody. Thank y'all so much. Y'all stay in while I end the stream, okay? Thank y'all, everybody. We will see y'all next time.